the Spartans. It's the 53rd Annual Fishbowl Classic today on MEAC College Football Saturday.
It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Norfolk, Virginia, a day that the man upstairs made for football. Ideal for me at College Football Saturday as Norfolk State, the Spartans, play host to the Bulldogs of South Carolina State, coming to you live from Dick Price Stadium. Hello, everybody. I'm Ronnie Duncan, and welcome once again to me at College Football Saturday. We've got two teams that, sure, this is the fishbowl, but they've got the bait, and they hope they have the catch. I mean Norfolk State and, of course, the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. And talk about a guy who knows a lot about both teams. He's my colleague in crime, Mark Gray. Mark, we have a game of two teams that have different problems that won, which they didn't have.
Well, you know something, Norfolk State would love to have the problem that South Carolina State has. A lot of offense, no defense. South Carolina State would like to have the problem that Norfolk has because South Carolina State has basically no defense and they've got a tremendous offense, so we've got a terrific matchup today. It should be quite interesting.
Coach Willie Jeffries has been at South Carolina State for quite some time. 18 years in whole when you talk about stops, of course, in Howard and other institutions, but he loves South Carolina State and he loves what he's seeing right now in one young man. I'm talking number 25. I call him Stan the Man. You call him Stanley Stevens, and the steamer Stanley Stevens.
That's right. He's been steamrolling all over the competition this year. He has been the one rock of Gibraltar this team can count on this particular season, averaging over 9 yards a carry. He's got 360 yards already. I mean, he had a big game last week against the Citadel. This guy can get it done.
Stanley, I love this guy, but you know what? On defense, when you speak of Norfolk State, there was a young man I saw as a freshman last year. His name is Marcus Gray, and tell me, this Gray can play.
It's Gray with an A, but it's no relation. This guy really can play. He's a fierce hitter. He got great coverage skills. He comes up and does an outstanding job in run support. He also does a great job in pass coverage. Look at him, 18 solo tackles, 5 pass breakups. You really can't ask more from that, from a guy that's supporting your defensive line. And let me tell you something, when you look at that Norfolk State D-line, it's something to speak about, brother. They can really get after it.
They can bring it, as they say. As far as the quarterback comparisons are concerned, we've got two quarterbacks on both teams that sometimes start and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, we've got a classic case of two quarterbacks who really haven't seized command of the offense, but they are all different and special in their very different way. Let's take a look at the U.S. Airways quarterback comparison right here. Reese McCampbell will get the start, but we will see Avery Bowden. McCampbell, solid, steady quarterback general. John Roberts is kind of looking for himself right now, but Coach Moore Forte has a lot of confidence in the young fella. See, 8 interceptions as compared to 2 TDs. That's a ratio that has offensive coordinator George Ragsdale pulling his hair out. Norfolk State has been moving the ball well between the 20s. They haven't been able to push it in. South Carolina State can score and move it by land and air.
You know what? The big catch is the fishbowl. It's South Carolina State and Norfolk State. It's next on MEAC College Football Saturday. Stadium, that's the place to be. Norfolk, Virginia this weekend. Hello, everybody. Ronnie Duncan along with Mark Gray, and we're going to be going down to Donna Hopkins a little bit later. Mark, we have an exciting game because these are two teams that want to get it done, but they want that win. They want that conference victory, 1-3 on the season, and the current weather conditions look like this. You talk about a beautiful day for football. We have exactly that, 65 degrees or 66, currently mostly sunny, and a light wind, and this is the type of football weather I'd love to play in.
You know, son, this is the kind of day, if you want to borrow a baseball analogy from Hall of Famer Ernie Banks, let's play two. It's that gorgeous here on the Bay, and we've had wonderful accommodations here, and the last 2 times these two teams met have been really great football games. Norfolk lost a heartbreaker last year, as Monty Stokes, one of the receivers we'll talk about a little bit later on, made a tremendous catch to steal a victory last season, and you know that's really sticks in the craw of Coach Mo Forte. And you know, you would think that when teams are struggling offensively and they haven't been able to get a conference win, that there would be confidence lacking. These are two confident football teams, and you know, we know from talking they are really pumped and ready to get after it.
Well, we're going to see some exciting football. As you can see on the torn cast, it's going to be South Carolina State receiving, and that means we're going to get an opportunity to see Willie Jeffries take on Mr. Chad Eady and Stanley Stevens, two very productive running backs for a guy that's been at South Carolina State for some time.
Boy, Willie Jeffries is just as much a part of South Carolina State as any pillar in any one of the old buildings down there. I mean, seems like if you go into Orangeburg, you know, one of the stops that you have to make is the Coach Jeffries' office. You talk about an institution, a guy who's been getting it done, you know, for the past year. I think he's probably been carrying around a bit of a heavy heart. And you're talking about a man that's carrying around something a little heavy these days, my man Mo Forte.
You know, Mo was talking to me before the game. He said he saw an old friend of his who hadn't seen him in quite some time, and he said, there are two of you. And Mo says, yeah, that's right. Mo has put on some weight, but he's done a great job around here, and that's, of course, the man who's been doing and making players for quite some time, Coach Willie Jeffries. I talked to Coach Jeffries before the game. I said, you know what, the last game you had Nicole Watson, who was our sideline reporter, over for dinner. Why didn't you bring Mark and I? He says, you didn't look good enough.
And it's funny, Coach Jeffries says that he works out in the gym quite often these days to keep himself physically fit because he's trying to stay away from the Mo Forte body. Oh, man, it's some classic stuff going on. These guys are good friends.
Yes, they are.
You know, and that's what it's all about, fierce competitors. And this is a Norfolk team that's looking to step up, much like we saw Delaware State last week, Ronnie, looking to step to that next echelon. So, too, are the Norfolk State Spartans. And South Carolina State is really trying to get back amongst the elite. This is an area that they're not normally used to being accustomed to playing at this time of the season, trying to stay out of last place.
Well, Coach Willie Jeffries, there he is with this crew, and the Bulldogs are going to be ready. I'm looking forward to seeing Stanley Stevens. And, of course, my man Chad Eady. You know, Chad wants to play on Sunday afternoons. Chad has to start getting those numbers up a little bit more. And, of course, you see the Spartans band, and we will have them at halftime. You know what? When you talk about black college football, there's nothing like the halftime shows and the bands. And if you've never watched our games here, make sure you watch each and every Saturday afternoon because now they're talking about those starting lineups for the Norfolk State Spartans.
And, Ronnie, we need to welcome our folks that may have not seen us before on NUE TV around the country for checking in on their free TV weekend. And the next three games, next week is the game of the year, you ask me. You know, the posturing, shall we say, has already begun for the October 14th showdown between North Carolina A&T and Florida A&M. We come back here in 2 weeks for a Florida A&M matchup against Norfolk State, which could have some historic significance. And then Bethune-Cookman and North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, October the 28th. And, oh, yeah, by the way, that just happens to be homecoming. So suffice to say, there'll be a little something going on in Greensboro that weekend.
Tell you what, I'm looking to Shake McGrew thing when I get down to Greensboro, North Carolina after the game and before the game. Should be a lot of fun. But obviously, let's talk about next weekend in Tallahassee, Florida, because that is the game of the year in the MEAC. You talk about last season, Florida A&M University and North Carolina A&T both made it to the semifinals, the Division I AA playoffs. That speaks volumes for this conference and what this conference has done. Then when you look at the Sheridan Black College Football poll, the top 4 teams in that poll are coming from what conference?
The MEAC.
And that has to make you feel good when you look at FAMU, North Carolina A&T, Bethune-Cookman, and Hampton.
When you look at the top 25 in all of Division I AA, 3 MEAC teams are there. Florida A&M ranked as high as number 3, A&T at 21, and Hampton, who we saw last week, is at 25.
Our game is just about getting ready to get started. We're going to take it downstairs to Donna Hopkins, who's our reporter on the sideline, and she has the coach, Mo Forte.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, Coach, you know what? Coming into this game, your offense has had some problems scoring. You hadn't scored since the season opener. How do you jumpstart this offense and capitalize on the great play from your defense?
Well, I'll tell you what, our defense has been playing great for us. What we're trying to do now, we focused all week on playing better in the red area. That's where we had the problems, making mistakes down there. We've moved the ball, but we just haven't been able to do it in the red area, so we got to do that and capitalize.
Well, Coach Willie Jeffries, I was talking to him before the game. He said the key in this game is turnovers, the team that makes the fewest turnovers. What do you think the key is?
Well, I still think that the key is defense always, but, you know, turnovers and mistakes, you know, if you eliminate those, you always have a chance to win.
Good luck, Coach. Hey, guys, this should be a great game. These are two teams that are coming off losses and two teams in desperate need of a win. Back to you guys up in the booth.
Well, thanks a lot, Donna. We appreciate it. That's Donna Hopkins. You will be hearing from Donna throughout the game. We've got two teams that are 1-3. Ronnie Duncan, Mark Gray, Donna Hopkins. This is MEAC College Football Saturday. And as you can see, Mr. Cornett is going to be your kicker, set to receive in the backfield for the South Carolina State Bulldogs. There he is, your You'll see this young man and hear his name a lot. Stanley Stevens. We've got a football game underway. Stanley Stevens on the receiving yards. He's at the 11. He takes it across the 20, dropped it around the 25-yard line, and we will now take a look at our United States Postal Service starting defensive and offensive lineups for the game. South Carolina State, Corey Haynes, and what a player. And, of course, you've got Arby Hansen, Webster. Look at that lineup, man. They can play. Moving along in that defensive unit. When you look at the linebackers and your fullbacks in the offense, you've got Stanley Stevens, Chad Edey, Johnny Allen, Monty Stokes.
Stokes is a player, Ronnie. He's one of Willie Jeffrey's favorites, and the Bulldogs are without their other starting receiver, Aaron Alexander, out with a broken leg.
All right, there he is, Chad Edey on the give. Chad Edey picks up about 5 yards on the play, and that's a good running effort for Chad Edey, getting off to a great start.
Well, you know something, the dilemma they faced all season is having the prototype fullback to lead the offense. And this is Reese McCampbell, the proverbial starter, but they're not, it's like South Carolina State almost takes a baseball approach. You know, we're in postseason baseball time with the relief pitcher. This is your proverbial starter. His job is to move the chains, and normally you'll see Avery Bowden off the bench.
All right, there he is, Reese McCampbell, a young man who wants to get back into his groove thing here at South Carolina State. And he gives it to Chad Edey one more time. Edey picks up about 2 yards on the play. That will make it a third down with about 3 yards to go.
But we've got some laundry on the turf already, Ronnie.
Now let's take a look at our United States Postal Service starting defense. And when you speak of defense for Norfolk State, that's a defensive unit that wants to get its act together.
5-yard face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Now for our USPS starting defense and Mike Kelly, and look at that. Tavorius Collins. Talk about that young man.
Back in the lineup after nursing some bad injuries. The line on campuses when somebody is a tremendous performer is a beast. And when you start talking about a beast, such as the case with Jelani Fair at the linebacker as well, and Marcus Gray, the strong safety for Coach Mo Forte.
There's Coach Mo Forte. Here it is. 1st and 10. Ball at the 37-yard line. And look at that stop there. And once again, the defense has always been there. Last week against North Carolina A&T, they were scoreless at halftime, so that tells you about the Spartans' defense.
It certainly does. They're quick, they're active, they do a great job of pursuing, and they do a great job, certainly at the defensive front from what I saw in practice, of playing off blocks and getting into the backfield to disrupt the running plays. And there's a look at your game officials.
And they're led by a referee, Daniel Evans Sr. And you can look at the rest of the names there. These young men are the same group of officials that were at the Morgan game over the weekend. FAMU and Morgan. Well, it wasn't FAMU and Morgan. It was Morgan and Bethune-Cookman. And they played in the Bahamas.
Well, not a bad trip.
It's not a bad trip. As a matter of fact, they were happy they had an opportunity to play that game and officiate that game. So they are well rested off their vacation.
Well, I'm glad somebody enjoyed that trip.
All right, we've got a 3rd and 5. The ball is on the 43-yard line. It is South Carolina State and Norfolk State coming to you live from William Dick Price Stadium. There's your quarterback, Reese McCampbell, for the South Carolina State Bulldogs.
This is a traditional power I.
McCampbell on the run. McCampbell ran it out. He was hit, and he was hit hard. However, he was able to release the ball.
You talk about getting his bell rung right in front of the Norfolk State sideline. That's exactly what happens to McCampbell. Look, it's a naked boot, a half roll coming on to the near side. Watch him get to the outside. I mean, he was a bit of an ill-advised pass, and he takes a big-time lick from Kyron Copeland, who just put his shoulder right on the number 3, and South Carolina State has the punt.
Also on the run there was Jelani Fair, number 13. He was running after him in hot pursuit.
Another one of those beasts they talk about around here.
Punt was made by Frank Ziegler, one of the best punters in the MEAC this season, and down at around about the 10-yard line. We're going to come back with much more action. First quarter action. We've got South Carolina State taking on Norfolk State. MEAC College football Saturday continues. score early in the first quarter. South Carolina State and Norfolk State coming to you from William Dick Price Stadium, home of the Spartans, where they play football. And now we're going to see what that offense is all about, led by Mr. Roberts, the quarterback who got the starting nod at the start of the day. And you see him there, John Roberts, starting quarterback for Norfolk State.
Boy, this is an area that they desperately need improvement. Ranked 19th out of 122 teams on the season. They get off to a good start.
And that's Damian Smith on the carry.
Right up into the teeth of the South Carolina State defense, a defensive front that has been maligned all season. And Coach Ragsdale said they were looking to jumpstart the offensive game with the running, and that's exactly what they do in the first play.
Now let's take a look at that starting offense for the Spartans. LaShawn Mack, he is a big-time player. Look at Lott and look at Lido. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Now, Damian Smith has been the man, and he is the young man who can definitely get this offense going. Give that time was to Aaron Culpepper. And now let's take a look at our United States Postal Service starting defense and look at Mr. Fires.
Well, this is a unit that's got to step it up. We talked last week that Ben Blacknall talked about winning battles, and the defensive front hasn't been doing their job. So the linebackers, Kennedy in the middle replaces Hutchinson. Hutchinson is hurt, and he's going to try to go today. John Shavers is a great free safety, but also the starting point guard on the basketball team.
All right, 2nd and 8, ball on the 37-yard line. And once again, it's all about the Smith man, Damian Smith.
Well, you know, coming into the season, people were wondering if he could handle the bulk of the work after playing behind Angelo Todd, and he is continuing to get it done. I mean, he's only averaging around 71 yards, but that has a lot to do with the fact that this team has been down and had to go into a passing mode in many instances this season. So it'll be interesting to watch how he is able to try and wear down the South Carolina State, especially their defensive front this afternoon.
Dondre Berry on the tackle, another first down, ball at the 45-yard line. It's Culpepper. Culpepper turning the corner. Culpepper inside the territory of South Carolina State. And Mo Forte and I talked about this before the game. He said, Ronnie, we can score. We just haven't done it.
From 20 to 20, this team has been effective all season. And watch it. Your proverbial student body to the near side and watch him just get around the corner. Great job of sealing, and when he turns the corner, that's a nice job of downfield blocking that time by Norfolk State wide receiver Charles Burnett, who cleared it out so he could pick up another 15 yards while he got around the corner.
I don't think there was a question of whether or not they could score in the South Carolina State defense. It was a matter of whether they would score effectively once they reached the red zone.
Oh, we got a fumble already, Ronnie, and I think South Carolina State got it.
South Carolina State indeed did get the fumble recovery. That was Eric Abraham, number 58. He was Johnny on the spot.
Boy, somebody either got their clock clean or there was a stray hand that reached inside there and stripped the ball because it came right out in the air, and it was almost like a little soft pass to the defense. And that's got to really upset Coach Mo Forte, who once again gets close to the red zone, and his team continues to struggle.
Ragsdale, who happens to be the offensive coordinator, said the exact same thing. He says, we self-destruct, and that's something that the Spartans can ill afford to do.
You're absolutely right. South Carolina State is a team that struggled, but they know how to win. Norfolk State is still in the embryo process of learning how to win.
Ball on the 25-yard line, 1st and 10. Chad Eady with the ball, but this time he is met by a crew of guys, one, of course, being Marcus Gray, number 9.
I get the feeling we'll be calling his name a whole lot this afternoon. This guy's really active, and, you know, the defensive front, the way that they're able to get pressure on guys like Chad Eady has been mind-boggling all season.
Jamal Najee, also number 98, big guy who had some huge numbers last season as a freshman. That will make it 2nd and 12, ball on the 24-yard line, and that's something they cannot afford to do. And I speak of the Bulldogs, making sure their running game gets stopped because that fuels everything on offense. Monty Stokes with the reception, and that is a first down. Monty Stokes, whenever you need a receiver, he's the man to go to. Last year, South Carolina won this game on a 31-yard touchdown pass with 2 seconds to go. Monty Stokes was the recipient of the touchdown.
Well, you know something, his stock is rising. There's a bull market on Monty Stokes right now. Not a whole lot of people were talking about him. Didn't have throughout his career, hadn't had a lot of passes come his way. But, boy, he makes defenses pay every time he puts his hands on the football.
Chad Eady turned the corner, and Chad Eady close to a first down. Number 1, Chad Eady got off to a very slow start with South Carolina State, but ever since the game we did, down in Orangeburg, this young man is putting on some big numbers.
Despite the fact that he struggled, he's still third in the MEAC in rushing with 326 yards, and this is where he's most effective on this team, getting to the outside. South Carolina State's offensive dilemma is that they don't have a prototype fullback to lead block for either of their backs, which really magnifies the talent that each of them have.
We've got some offsides there, and it looks like it's going to be against the Spartans of Norfolk State.
Tavoris Carnes looked like he was one of the guilty parties. Looked like he was unabated to the quarterback.
Defense, before the snap, offside, 5-yard penalty, replay the down.
The eagerness of being a young man. You know all about it, don't you?
Yes, I do. Still wet behind my ears.
8:29 left to go in the first quarter. South Carolina State coming into hostile territory at the Fish Bowl at Dick Price Stadium on the campus of Norfolk State University. There's your quarterback for South Carolina State, Reese McCampbell. Chad Edey is brought down, and he was brought down in a big way. Wayne C. was the man.
And Wayne C. saw that play from the time it developed, played off his block, and made an outstanding defensive play. It's just an outstanding individual effort by number 7 right there, who played off his block at the point of attack and got Chad Edey down one-on-one. Not too many people do that consistently. Watch it right here. See, he just beats his block. It's a design sweep, plays off Stevens, and right there is able to hold Chad Edey behind the line of scrimmage. So it's a 2nd and long situation once again for the Bulldogs.
2nd and 12 from the 47-yard line. The pitch is bad. Chad Edey is able to recover, and that's the one thing Reese McCampbell cannot afford to do, Mark.
Well, he's in the lineup because he's the one that runs that offense, the balance that Coach Jeffries wants. He's a guy that can run the option as well as complete passes. I guess he just was intimidated just a little bit that time by Najee, who got penetration, and he pitched a little bit early, and fortunately, Edey, number 1 right there in the center of your screen, was Johnny on the spot. So it is a 3rd and a country mile hill in Norfolk early.
3rd and 16, ball on the 40, but there's a flag.
And we've got a new quarterback in the contest as well for South Carolina State right now. Bowden is checked in.
We have substitution infraction, 12 men breaking the huddle from South Carolina State. 5-yard penalty, replay the down.
Too many men on the field, can't make the substitution at a time like this, and when they were singing that song, Back That Thing Up, I don't think South Carolina State had this in mind.
No, not 3rd and 20, 26. And this is Avery Bowden, the freshman out of Greenbelt, Maryland, went to H.D. Woodson High School, and we've got Najee looked like he jumped offside once again, but was he drawn?
Well, he's clapping as if he was drawn, and we'll see if he was, and there's a lot of applause going on
Good ball.
on the Spartan side.
Offense with the false start, 5-yard penalty.
So
you know, sometimes when you have so many different substitutions in a game and you have so many people moving different offenses, such as the situation with McCampbell and Bowden, then there's a lot of confusion with that offensive line.
Remember last week we talked about the difference in snap counts and cadence and inflection between quarterbacks? Those are the kind of things that show up when the offensive line isn't consistent with their signal caller behind them.
Avery Bowden drops back the pass, but this young man is still on his feet trying to beat fair. He does beat fair, but it's not enough for a first down. He gets beyond the 40-yard line.
And I think that Norfolk State's defense can thank the umpire for getting in the way that time, because it looked like Bowden had a little bit of a lane to the outside. He stumbled somewhere in the neighborhood of the 40-yard line, or trying to get around the umpire, and now South Carolina State has to punt. So, you know, we've seen a lot of teams. We've seen 2 teams who've been able to run the football against one another right yet, but nobody's been able to do anything consistent.
One of the best punters in the country, Frank Ziegler, puts that one up there. Chad Smith on the return gets a little. And now it gives them an opportunity to put that offense back out there. We'll see what the Spartans have coming up after this break. It's MEAC College Football Saturday. It's South Carolina State and Norfolk State. As of yet, but it's a beautiful game for college football. I'm talking Norfolk State taking on South Carolina State. what a difference a year makes? Maybe not much of a difference when you consider what's happening with the Spartans. Look at that, Mark. A year ago, they were averaging nearly 12 points a game. Now it's just 9.3. But look at the turnover situation, very similar to what it was. There's Mr. Smith with the ball. He's a hard man to bring down. He's going to make about 3 yards on that play just on personal effort alone.
That's right. The pile just moved as he hit the pile. And you were talking about Norfolk State's mirror image offensively. About the only thing that's really dropped has been their scoring, averaging like 2 touchdowns per game at this point in the season last year, and this year they can't seem to punch it in. And watch this tremendous individual effort that time by Damian Smith, barreling through the line. Look at, there are 3 guys right there that seem to have him stopped, and he's still going. You know, he's still going.
We talk so much about Smith's success on this football team, but the reason why he has that success is because he's got a big fullback in front of him, Leon McMullen. McMullen knows how to push people out of the way, and that's why Smith can benefit.
And that's the dilemma that South Carolina State has been facing all season. They don't have that prototype guy. You know, you even look in the National Football League, the great running backs normally have a lead guy that's doing tremendous work with them. You look at the Eddie George, especially in Tennessee.
All right, you know what? Let me tell you about this. It's not too early to make your holiday plans, and the Sheraton Norfolk Waterside Hotel invites you to visit and stay downtown in Norfolk's one and only waterfront hotel. From November 17th to January 6th, subject to date availability, we're offering a great holiday room rates as low as $69 plus per night. Now, take an all-night great vacation sites, the sounds and shoppings, and the attractions of downtown Norfolk. Call 1-800-325-3535 or 757-622-6664 to make your plans.
And let me, Ken Hawkins, who works at the Sheraton, hooked us up. I'm telling you, so, you know, drop the MEAC Game of the Week, myteam.com crew, he'll hook you up. It's like, it's by far, they're on the water, Ronnie. We actually got paid to stay on the water. That's unbelievable stuff.
We got a guy that's not going to be standing the game, Mark Luna of Norfolk State, had to be taken out. We hope that he's okay. It'll be 2nd and 5 from the 29-yard line.
Not that time. And the ball might have come loose. Well, it did come loose, but I don't think it's a fumble.
That was Aaron Culpepper on the play. Got perhaps not much, and let's see why. The defense was right there.
Well, no surge by the offensive line at the point of attack, and the ball does squirt loose after he hits the ground.
Damon Bethea on the tackle, number 50, strong linebacker.
Mo Forte trying to instill this pro offense here at Norfolk State University. And, you know, struggles offensively is something new to the Norfolk State program. This one been one of the more prolific passing-oriented programs back in the day of James Rowe and Aaron Sparrow. So the struggles offensively are totally new to this part of the Bay.
That was Stephen Allison who was taken off. And if you want the latest information of what's happening with your favorite MEAC school, go to MEACsports.com. Up-to-date scores and information from the MEAC. John Roberts still on the go. Roberts gets across the 40-yard line, proving once again the versatility of his skills are very much there.
A man who was back up to Michael Vick in high school shows his versatility that time, getting outside of the pocket and picking up a huge first down for Norfolk State. I mean, he didn't really take time to get set back up there to survey the situation downfield. It was almost as though that was a quarterback draw of some kind to take advantage of his legs.
He's got to be careful the way he carries that football, that's for sure. Ball is on the 41-yard line, 1st and 10. Roberts is your quarterback. Culpepper is in the backfield. And the give is to Culpepper. Culpepper swinging it. Almost made it to the first down. He's about 2 yards shy of a first down, Mark.
That's a neat play. Out of the shotgun formation, hand it off to your back and let him scoot through a lane. And that shows a lot of confidence in your offensive front because it's an off-tackle trap. And he steps off into the secondary and is able to pick up another first down. But we have a summit meeting going on, and I'm just wondering, is this one coming back? Personal foul against South Carolina State. Perhaps a little bit of frustration by one of the big fellas up front, because that is the talk in Orangeburg these days about the ineffectiveness of the defensive front.
Personal foul, late hit, white. 15-yard penalty, first and 10.
Mark, you called a little moxie there.
Yeah, or a little testiness or some frustration beginning early on. And it really jump starts offense, and it gives Norfolk State confidence all of a sudden that they can, in fact, do some things. But this is where they coughed it up the last time here as they were rolling into the red zone area.
Once again, Smith carries it in for about a 3-yard gain.
Boy, I tell you, it's getting nasty, and it's getting nasty early right now, because it looked to me like LaShawn Mack just pile drove one of the South Carolina State defensive linemen into the turf, and he kind of sent them a message. And Mr. Mack will be playing on Sundays, I'm sure. This is Todd trying to foul big number 73, Mr. Mack, into the line. And let's check out the little bit of extracurricular activity by Mr. Mack. Look at this takedown. Hey, I think he could have beat the Russian in the Olympics with that move, too. He might have even got a point in Greco-Roman wrestling.
2nd and 7, and you talk about the activity. At that time, South Carolina State says, oh, we have a defense, and we're showing up. Well, basically, the question is, who let the dogs out?
Well, that time the big dogs up front were finally able to get some penetration at the point of attack, just driving the offensive front back, and that thwarted the offensive effort that time. And so it'll bring up a 3rd and 10. So this has been the dilemma. The passing game this season, and even in practice, they have tried and tried and tried to get basically downfield, and they were trying in practice, and it wasn't working on Thursday afternoon. So let's watch the vertical passing game.
3rd and 10, ball on the 35-yard line. Roberts back to pass. Roberts looking for an intended receiver. In and out of the hands of Charles Burnett. Well, how did that happen, Mark?
He just didn't catch the football. Maybe he lost his concentration or something, but Burnett has got to make that play. I mean, it's a great play call. It's wonderfully executed. They got the one-on-one isolated matchup that they were looking for, and he's got to haul his pass in. Tight spiral strike down. Maybe the defensive back right there gets a hand on it, but if you can put, oh, man.
And he did indeed get a hand on the football.
That back there in coverage, John Shivers, the point guard, doing work on the football field.
Stanley Stevens with the football. He can turn on a dime. Stanley Stevens had about 2 people to beat. You never know. That's South Carolina State Bulldogs. Somebody could let the dogs out. Will they? We'll find out. We're scoreless now, but it could change in just a few minutes on MEAC College Football Saturday. Is making names across the nation. Currently, Florida A&M University is ranked 3rd best in the Sports Network Division I AA poll. North Carolina A&T is 21st, while Hampton is 25th. The top 16 go to the playoffs. Let's go down low with Donna Hopkins on the field. Donna?
Hey, guys, on that injury, Mark Luna, he's a starting center. It's a left knee. He's out for the game. When the trainers was working on him, he was in great pain. So they lost their starting center for the game. Back to you guys up in the booth.
Keeping us abreast of what's happening on the field. Thank you, Donna. We appreciate it. It's 2:13 and counting as the time goes down this first quarter of action. We have no score. 2 teams that are being stingy when it comes to knocking down the doors of success in the end zone.
Boy, 2 teams who have been really impressive, though. This has been the most impressive almost full quarter of scoreless football that we've seen all season, Ronnie. I mean, we've seen some talented backs. We've seen some good offensive line play. And we've also seen, well, basically a couple of pass plays. Had they worked, we might be talking a totally different story right now.
All right, back in the game at quarterback is Reese McCampbell for South Carolina State. He's still on his feet. Reese McCampbell finally brought down, and Reese McCampbell had to deal with the defense and the pressure of Matt Armstrong.
Boy, Matt Armstrong does a good job out there playing off his block, taking away, you know, this is a good job of pursuit. Look at the kid get outside right here. He's trying to survey the field. And look at number 36. He's got the radar locked in there on him, and he makes a big defensive play.
Now back in the game is Avery Bowden, number 7. Once again, Coach Willie Jeffries is confusing that defense of Norfolk State because he keeps going with one quarterback who is talented in throwing the ball, the other who's great on the run.
But he could also be confusing his offensive line as well. You know, it's difficult for them to get into a flow when you've got the situation substitutions at the quarterback position, and we see it once again.
And that was a situation where it was 3rd and 8 on the 29-yard line, 8 yards to go.
So if you're not absolutely sure you can get the playoff, then you got to wonder about that, because it takes a 3rd and 8 situation that turns it into 3rd and 15 because you're confused.
Defense, offside.
So maybe their snap count confused the defense this time, and thus got them to move into the neutral zone.
You've got some interesting faces on the sideline. These young men recognize that a win is going to be huge. Here's the penalty count: 3 and 25, 2 and 10. We'll keep you posted right here on MEAC College Football Saturday. Bowden in the shotgun. Bowden can pass. Bowden steps up in a pocket. Bowden was looking for Murray Stokes and couldn't quite get it to him. Too low, going underneath.
Boy, Monty Stokes was awful close that time to having his shoulder driven into the turf, and that would have been an ugly situation. Bowden under duress. It's a blitz coming from the outside. He tries to step up into the pocket, and that's a fairly solid pass under duress. It was low, thrown in a position where only his receiver could have made the play. Unfortunately for South Carolina State, it turned out to be a 2-hop grounder.
Once again, putting them in a punting situation, even though one of the best punters in the conference is Frank Ziegler. You don't want to see him this often during the game. There's a fumble on the play. It looks like it's going to be going South Carolina State's way, Mark.
Wow, it was a situation where it looked initially like Chad Smith was going to just let the ball roll. Norfolk is able to hold on to possession. That would have been a devastating turn of events.
Chad Smith picks up the ball here, Mark, and what happens on this play?
I think he shook himself while he was trying to shake big number 50 that time, Damon Bethea, and the ball just found its way to the turf.
Lucky bounce for Norfolk State. Roberts looking, finds a receiver out in the backfield. And that was a fullback, Leon McMullen.
Yeah, you got to let the big nasties who are doing the block touch the ball sometime. Nice way to get him into the flow. Versatility with the fullback, a talented young fella. First time we've had a chance to see Norfolk this season. And as we close out the first half, you see the first quarter, you see Coach Mo Forte is confident that his boys can do a little something, if you will, against the South Carolina State defense. And when your running game is working, it opens up the short passing game, and they could be effective going into the second quarter.
We'll see if the second quarter has more to offer than the first quarter. We were scoreless. But then again, a week ago, it was that way when North Carolina A&T took on Norfolk State. We'll find out what happens on offense for the Spartans coming up on MEAC College Football Saturday. It's Norfolk State and South Carolina State right here. Go soon, and we've got to get a score or we're going to walk out of here with a tied game, and that doesn't happen anymore in college football. At least we don't expect for it to happen here today. We've got two teams, one known for its offense, one known for the D. So far, defensively, Norfolk State has lived up to the advanced billing, but offensively, they really want to get off.
Looks like Norfolk is about ready to take the reins off their offense just a little bit.
Roberts in a little bit of trouble. Roberts still on his feet and turns around. Let's take a look at our first half Xerox stats. And those stats are pretty interesting. And we're going to come back to them in a couple of minutes. And we'll tell you exactly what those Xerox stats are, because you will find out that both teams aren't giving up much when it comes to numbers on the scoreboard.
You're absolutely right. We've seen a whole lot of moving via the ground game, but I think Mo Forte really wants to get Mr. Roberts off in the passing game. Now we have another infraction. I normally got the eagle eye and did not see the laundry hit the turf.
I think it was on both teams, and we'll see if that was an infraction. We'll check it out.
We got a personal foul. Norfolk State went out of bounds voluntarily and came back in and participated in the play. So 15 yards from the previous spot.
And now here we have our Xerox first quarter stats. And as you can see, yards rushing, Norfolk State with Mr. Smith leading the way, had 91, but 23 for South Carolina State. Amazing
that Norfolk State has such a wide disparity in terms of the amount of yards rushing, given that South Carolina State basically had the ball for 3/4 of the first quarter.
All right, we're 2nd and 7. And once again, those yellow flags just keep coming out.
This is a young offensive front that is really, really green, and it has nothing to do with their uniforms, and they're just making too many mistakes.
We have a false start on the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty.
And there's Mo Forte lamenting. I cannot believe what those young kids are doing.
Hey, Mark, you didn't have to say that because the picture speaks for itself, man. You know what? It is encouraging to meet and greet some of the personalities of the MEAC. And Mo Forte and William Jeffries are just two delightful coaches to even have to work with. And I enjoy coming down here. I look forward to coming to Norfolk State each and every year. Bad snap on the ball. Roberts picks it back up. Roberts is going out. And he's lucky. He just threw that one up. And he's lucky it was not intercepted. There defensively was the Whit Ellerby.
Well, this is a pass that really shouldn't have been thrown. I mean, once he got the ball back off the bad snap, he's got to turn it upfield and try to make something happen with his legs or find a shorter receiver. He forced the ball deep downfield into double coverage, and had South Carolina State been in a position to make the interception, it would have turned the tide of this quarter.
Third down conversions, you see it right there. 58 attempts, just 15 completed, and the percentage is a very weak 26%.
It has a lot to do with the fact that their offensive line hasn't been doing a great job of protecting Roberts, and neither have his receivers when he is delivering a confident pass. They haven't been making the receptions like we saw Burnett early in the first quarter.
3rd and 12 from the 32-yard line. Roberts still on his feet. Roberts turning the corner. Roberts looking at the first down marker.
He got it, I think.
And he may have gotten it. Let's see where the ball is spotted. If the official is kind in him, it's a first down for Norfolk State.
See, that's the versatility of a quarterback like Roberts. I mean, you look up and down this conference now, you've got quarterbacks who can freelance and make things happen outside of the pocket. And this is just a great escape job that time. Bobby Collins has no chance of catching him from the backside. It's a nice cut. And then in pursuit, you had Damon Bethea, but not before missed the quarterback. Great job that time by Roberts picking up the first down.
So that'll make it 1st and 10 from the 49-yard line. And we saw from the opening drive, the Spartans can move the ball. Smith and Culpepper can get it done downfield. Let's see what happens with the wide receivers. And there's Smith on the run, a pickup of about 2 yards.
Doing a good job playing off and coming in to disrupt that play was Ken Jones. He played off his block, got pursuit into the backfield, and was able to trip Smith up for about a 2-yard gain.
Let's see if we can get names like Tyrone Sellers, a fine wide receiver, number 6, into the game. There has to be a way for Roberts to find this young man. He's a speed deemer. They've also got another wide receiver, Charles Burnett, who can get it done, number 80. The give once again to Culpepper. Culpepper turns the corner. Culpepper across the 50, and he's about nowhere near a gain. If anything, he may have taken a loss on the play.
Big props to Eric Abraham that time for stringing that play out and really thwarting it at the point of attack. I mean, there was no chance for this play about the time that the back got the ball. The defense was in the offensive backfield, and now Mo Forte has to find an answer here.
It'll be 3rd and 8, ball on the 48-yard line.
And there's Shivers, the outstanding free safety, who is also an outstanding basketball player, who will be getting ready at the end of football season for Midnight Madness.
This is next week,
How
buddy.
about that?
Roberts in the pocket, back to pass. Roberts, and he's brought down. And Roberts just couldn't stand the heat. The heat was all over the place, and that was Bobby Collins.
That time, Roberts held the ball just a little bit too long. I mean, nobody was really open deep downfield, but you got to get rid of it in that situation.
Christmas game early for Bobby Collins. Bobby wasn't going to wait on Christmas. Bobby was going to take his present real early. Bobby gets another sack, and you know the big fellas love when they get the sacks, man. It's all about the sacks when you talk about the big fellas.
Christmas is not bad when you come early to Norfolk.
Especially on a great day like today, 66 degrees. Stanley Stevens ready to receive the punt. This ball is going to drop at around about the 23-yard line.
So we've seen a whole lot of offensive potential, but you can make the argument that the offense that we've seen thus far has been offensive.
It's been a game of defense, but when will the O explode? Maybe it will for South Carolina State. We'll see, and continues to bring folks and put them in the NFL. South Carolina State is very proud of Mr. Porcher with the Detroit Lions. He's a product of the Bulldogs. He let the dogs out. Now we're going to go back down to the sidelines, and we've got Donna Hopkins, and she has a special guest. Donna?
Hamilton. Hey guys, I'm with Bill Hamilton. He's the sports information director from South Carolina State. He's been there for 28 years, and he's also been inducted just recently into the Hall of Fame. Hey Bill, talk about over your 28 years, the biggest changes that you've seen in the MEAC.
Well, I think, Donna, certainly it's a parity among the schools in the league. One stretch from 1974 to 1983, South Carolina State dominated the conference, won 9 championships during that period, and 10 T.L. Hill trophies, which is given to the school with the best program. But in the recent years, I guess the championship always goes down to the last week of the season, it seems like. So there is parity in the league right now. We have some great coaches.
Also, a lot of great competition this year in the MEAC.
Certainly, I think it's going to be another year where you're not going to know who's going to win the championship until it's down to the wire. And certainly some of the games this year, we've had some surprise, but for the most part, they've been really well played.
28 years, how many more years?
Well, I have an opportunity to retire next July, but I'm still a young man, and if I'm blessed, I'll continue. But certainly it's been wonderful. Staying in the business this long, you have to enjoy it, and it's been rewarding.
How about Coach Willie Jeffries? Talk about him.
He's a great guy to work with. I don't think I could have worked for anybody that I've had a better relationship as a professional, also off the field as a professional, and also as a father figure. He does such a good job with the young man in our program. He's a real ambassador to our university.
Thanks a lot. Hey, guys, back to you in the booth.
All right, thanks a lot, Donna. And you know what? Chad Edey, while you guys were away, ran away for a first down, making it 1st and 10 from the 37-yard line. It is Bowden, and Bowden goes to, oh, my goodness, he had him right across the middle, but he wasn't there. Ball in and out of the hand of Terrence Metcalf.
Well, this time, Metcalf was wide open, and I guess the quarterback hit him right in the wrong hands. And this guy comes from good stock. This is NFL legend Terry Metcalf's son, and his baby boy just didn't make Papa proud on that play, but I'm sure he'll make up for it later on.
Number 88, Terrence Metcalf, a young man who can do some great things, and they're going to have to depend on him a little bit more, South Carolina State.
I kind of like them opening up this offense.
Bowden out of the shotgun, but gives it to Chad Edey for no gain, and once again, McAfee and company were all over that one.
Indeed. I mean, that time the O-line was just beating from the snap. It was like the defensive front was ahead on the snap count as opposed to the offensive front.
I'll tell you, Von McAfee, number 57, fine linebacker for the Spartans of Norfolk State.
Somebody's going to have to loosen the reins on their offense, though. I mean, we both teams have had extreme amount of success to this point in terms of running the football, but if there are going to be any points on the scoreboard, it looks to me like it's going to take something through the air.
Bowden in the shotgun formation, 3rd and 13 from the 35-yard line. Bowden back to pass. He's looking for Metcalf. Metcalf has it. Metcalf is going. There's a flag thrown on the play. Touchdown, South Carolina State.
There will be pass interference on that play, but I got to see whether or not it was defensive or offensive pass interference, because it looked like Metcalf may have pushed off just a little bit to get some separation, but a great job of concentration off the deflection, hauling it in and taking it to the house. It'll be interesting to watch this call. This is a huge call. Oh, wow, and they take it away. See, watch this downfield. We've got Mr. Metcalf. Well, check it. That's Monty Stokes. But here, watch it down here. I don't know about that. Looked like guys were trying to both make a play on the ball. They got connected.
Previous spot penalty.
So the penalty was on Metcalf. He is ruled for pushing down on the defender, and that was Wayne C., number 7 for the Spartans of South Carolina State. Metcalf is much bigger than C. And when you look at the difference in size, it is obvious he had to make some room, and it was a natural reaction. Unfortunately for him, he got caught.
That was a tough call right there, boy. I'm not quite sure it was personally, I'm not quite sure he did anything to gain an advantage. And when you make a call like that, you have to be saying that the offensive player is grabbing an advantage, and I don't think that he was that time.
It'll be 3rd and 13, ball from the 20-yard line. And this time the Stanley Stevens in and out of his hands. He knows it. He slams the turf, and Stanley Stevens is saying to himself, that's one that Ronnie Duncan could have been saying, MEAC, see you later, and he could have been in the end zone for 6.
You're absolutely right. If he holds on to that, it is MEAC, see you later. So what happens if now that he's dropped it?
3-2-1. He's got to go back for more fun.
That was a strike. 40 yards downfield, and it split the 2 and the 5. Boy, Bowden can really throw the rock.
He can, and that's one of the reasons why Coach Willie Jeffries enjoys him. Ziegler once again with the punt. There to receive, Chad Smith. Smith is going to break off something special one of these days. I hope I'm around to see it. We've got a game with a defensive struggle, up and down. Who's going to score first? We'll find out. Coming up with more MEAC College Football Saturday. Looking good on the campus of Norfolk State University.
Indeed.
However, the scoreboard still has 2 big O's up there, and those guys are trying to find a way to make things happen. Hey, did you know that Norfolk Show Place, MacArthur Center Mall, and the newly renovated Sheraton Norfolk Waterside Hotel have teamed up for a great holiday shopping package from November 17th to December 30th. For rates beginning as low as $92 per night, you'll receive a limited MacArthur Center canvas tote bag, a special shopping value, and coupons at many of their 130 unique stores. After you shopped all day, you can drop for the night in one of the Sheraton's heavenly beds. You'll receive a delicious breakfast for 2 the next morning. And shop all day, rest all night at the Sheraton. Call 1-800-325-3535 or 757-622-6664.
And South Carolina State's defensive front was being manhandled as Mr. Smith was able to pick up a couple of yards there right now. But, you know, it's like Mo Forte has decided that he's going to go back to a little bit more of a conservative approach as the Spartans have to take a timeout. Got to be some big-time confusion going on. Maybe the play was in getting late. And Burnett is having a conversation. The senior receiver is going back to get the orders from the freshman quarterback.
It's interesting what Coach Mo Forte said to me prior to the game in reference to that young man that you're currently looking at, John Roberts. Both he and Coach Ragsdale basically said this young man has all the talent and skills in the world. We have to help him.
Right.
Meaning that they've been coming up short. And he admits it. He says, you know what? We're giving him opportunities. We're not taking advantage of it. You know, when you look at the MEAC College Football Players of the Week, there's one guy who was among the top of the nation. Montrell Coley, 28 carries, 231 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I was in the barbershops, and the guys were talking about Mark Gray's call on Montrell Coley's touchdowns. Man, you did a heck of a job.
Wasn't me. I tell you it wasn't. 231 yards. Montrell Coley is having a phenomenal season. B.J. Little, you talk about a beast of the MEAC. Boy, look, 6 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and he wreaked havoc all season long. Jesus Sardi, the offensive tackle of Bethune-Cookman, helping Patrell Troutman to do the only work that Mr. Troutman can do. I cannot wait to see him in about 3 weeks.
You know, he's something special. What a hit there. Oh, my goodness, Mark. That's the kind of thing DeWitt Ellaby says, Mark Gray, did you see what I just did? Watch it one more time, Mark, and explain to Ronnie Duncan why I'm a bad man.
Because I like to rudely introduce myself to running backs like this. Good evening, good morning, and if I'm lucky, good night.
Mr. Smith wanted a wake-up call. So Willie says, I love that. You woke him up.
So he rang his bell, right, to wake him up. Jeffs likes that, boy. An intense competitor and a good old-fashioned Southern gentleman. But let me tell you something. His boys in the trenches, they will knock your head off. And they've been doing that for about 20 years.
You know, the freshman of the week in the MEAC was Timothy Frazier out of Hampton. He's a backup quarterback, and we saw what he could do. He was almost perfect. Ball in and out of the hands, had an opportunity to pick up a first down and do some promising things, but once again, they can't get it done. That was Jeff Hackerson.
Well, you know something? The coaches can talk all they want about doing a better job of getting the quarterback in position. Receivers got to step up and make plays.
Like he said, we've got to help him out. And when he said we, he wasn't just talking about the coaching staff, Mark. He was talking about the receivers. The talent is there for John Roberts. The guys have got to hold on to the ball. There is no mistaken that Mo Forte has recruited some of the best young athletes, and this is a tough place to recruit from, especially when you look up the road. You got Joe Taylor going for the same kid you're going for. I tell you what, it's a tough game, but we're going to pick it back up, and once again, we'll see the South Carolina State offense get back on the field. Stanley Stevens has been quiet. Will Stanley Stevens get the ball and run? We'll find out when we come back. Like in this one, no score, Norfolk State and South Carolina State, but it's a young team for Norfolk State and the Spartans, and Coach Mo Forte says there's a lot of growing up we have to do.
What we expect is that we're going to be a better football team, and we're looking for a lot of improvement from last year, simply because, you know, our players are more experienced and they are more comfortable with the systems that we use both on offense and defense. It took a while.
Well, it's taken a while, but you know what? He's going to get it done. He said, Ronnie, I just need some time down here at Norfolk State. He says the administration, the president, everyone has been behind me. It's just a matter of time. We wish him the very best.
Wow, good defense that time, boys.
Again, Avery Bowden trying to go to Uncle Love, number 82, the big tight end, but McAfee and company all over the football. Von McAfee has having a huge game.
Great coverage this time. Great angle to look at this replay. Watch Love come across the middle, and just great coverage. He met him at the same time that the ball got there, did the junior from Temple Hills, Maryland. Great coverage by Von McAfee. The linebackers have been getting after it all season. I am really impressed with the front seven of Norfolk State to this point in this game.
2nd and 10. And the give is to Chad Eady. And Chad Eady and Stanley Stevens are finding life very difficult for the Spartans.
Boy, watch this. Well, we've got a option play coming here to the far side. And look at the defense. Just string it out as far as they can to the sideline so that there's no cutback lane for Chad Eady as he looks to try to make some moves.
All right, this will make it a 3rd and 9. Ball is on the 14. And look at the passing yards in this game.
Anemic.
Somebody's suffering out there. 13 and 4 yards. Mark, I will get you more eligibility, and I get more than 13 yards. Bowden on pressure time, but he finds Chad Eady, and that will be a 1st down. And Chad Eady tried to even get more. Eady getting a little greedy.
Chad Eady is greedy when it comes to hauling in the passes, Ronnie. But you know something? When your offense is struggling, I think the short passing game really helps just sort of jumpstart the entire offense. There's nothing fancy about this. This is about the 3rd or 4th receiver, and Eady does a good job of helping his quarterback out. And then watch this block right here by Monty Stokes, just drilling a linebacker who was in pursuit. Stokes is my man. He does it all. I want some stock in Monty Stokes, dude. It's rising. This is a bull market at a Bulldog institution.
Mark Gray, the agent. Check him out on the internet. Speaking of the internet, you've got MEAC sports.com, but there are a lot of different services where you can find out what's been going on.
And some stuff that you don't want to know either, boy.
That's okay. Are you talking about MEACfans.com?
Yeah, and I'm talking about, what is that, Bison Mania? Boy, I tell you, if you want to catch up with your favorite MEAC team, cyberspace has definitely changed the whole landscape.
And the best place to go is MEACsports.com. They keep you posted. They let you know exactly where you can find the game in your local area. And, of course, we're everywhere. Over 23 million homes with the MEAC College Football Game of the Week. Bowden under pressure.
He fumbled that football.
And he fumbled. And let's see what the officials do in this. Will they rule it was dead before? Let's see.
I think that ball might have come out. Well, he's going to take a shot right here.
His knee hit the ground, Mark. That ball stays with South Carolina.
Okay, it did. You're absolutely right. Eagle eye work by the camera guys and the technicians in the truck. I tell you, talking heads like us would be nothing without them.
We'd be radio.
Even less than nothing. Now we've got Metcalf, and we've got a 4-receiver set in for South Carolina State. And
Stokes was looking for Stokes, but he couldn't find him.
That's because of relentless pressure that time coming off a blitz by McAfee once again. He was basically unabated to the quarterback, and he had to let that pass go a little bit earlier than he wanted to.
Once again, it puts him in another punting situation to see Frank Ziegler.
These guys are going to be worn out by the end of the game.
Set to receive is Chad Smith all alone. Smith at around about the 24-yard line. The punt is up. Picks it up at around the 29. Juggles it. Smith still on his feet. Smith turns and moves. And he's brought down at the 45.
Michael King, a reserve wide receiver, putting a big-time stick on. Watch this stick. Receivers are not supposed to hit like this.
But talk about the concentration. Smith loses the punt, picks it back up, and yet is able to turn something.
Watch this introduction right here. Number 4. Hello.
See, he brings a new definition to the word twist and shout.
Right.
Come on, oh.
We got a completion on the play. That was Tyrone Sellers, wide receiver.
Yeah, another one of those big 6-foot senior wide receivers out there who can get open. He's got to haul those passes in. You know, Norfolk started real well with the running game in the first quarter. Smith gained 41 yards on his first 5 carries. Since then, Ronnie, only 3 yards on 2 carries since. So South Carolina State has adjusted to the run game, and that should leave some openings in the passing attack as well. Smith being stopped once again trying to go up the middle, and you know you have to try to exploit the interior of the defensive line for South Carolina State, because frankly they haven't been getting it done, and on the last couple of drives they have been here in Norfolk today.
That was Dondre Berry on the tackle, number 39 for South Carolina State. 6:18 remaining just before halftime, and we have no score. Norfolk State was in the same situation a week ago against North Carolina A&T, an offense that I rank up there with South Carolina State that can put points on the board. 2 teams, not South Carolina State, but FAMU, and 2 teams that can get it done. And if they play that well against North Carolina A&T, despite losing, that builds up confidence.
There was a confident pass delivered that time that goes off the hands of Sellers, but that was a strike by Roberts, Ronnie. Wow.
You know, once again, Roberts is not getting the help that he needs, the help that will propel this offense into a different level.
You know something, this is a classic case watching him in person where you get the feeling that statistics do in fact lie. This guy is only completing about 30% of his passes, but he's delivered strikes in this game that have not been held on.
Point taken and received. Once again, punting situation. The punt is fumbled. And he was lucky to get a nice bounce and roll on that one. And around the 19-yard line. Once again, we're scoreless. Norfolk State, South Carolina State, coming to you live from William Dick Price Stadium. Someone is going to score in this game. Who will it be? We'll find out in just a few minutes.
Win the championship because we are schools of equal resources and abilities as far as what we're able to offer. But I like it that they're not talking about us a lot and we can slip up on people, because I do feel we're going to be a much improved football team.
Coach Willie Jeffries, and you talk about a guy who basically tells the truth. There's a lot of parity in this league, even though you look at FAMU and North Carolina A&T at the top. I'm telling you what, somebody's going to break somebody's heart.
Don't sleep on Bethune-Cookman. Don't sleep on Hampton University. Hampton's going to be a fine football team towards the end of the season. And you never know what's going to happen with South Carolina State. Consider, they don't have to face Florida A&M anymore this season. They've already got that massacre out of the way. A win today, maybe they get some momentum. Maybe they do play themselves up into a top 3 or 4 spot in the league.
Bowden avoiding the pressure. Bowden with the pass to Stanley Stevens. And that is good. And he's about a yard short of a first down.
Quality effort. The South Carolina State running backs all talk about wanting to play on Sunday, and this is what gives them an advantage. This is a running back who helps his quarterback out in a pass pattern by coming back. There are a lot of receivers that aren't mature enough to come back and help the quarterback. Quarterback's in trouble. See the running back? He comes back to the football, which makes it a shorter pass, and he hauls it in. So a 2nd and 1 situation up now for the Dogs.
And he gives Chad Eady, and he makes it back to the line of scrimmage. And that's not good. That'll make it 3rd and 1 from the 48.
Great pressure that time coming up at the point of attack. Leading the charge for Norfolk State was Tavares Carnes, and they're so happy to have him back in the lineup playing somewhere near 100% right now.
You know, South Carolina State has only crossed the 50-yard line 1 time in the first half, Mark. So this is an all-important drive.
Setting new standards for offensive futility in this game, aren't we?
And once again, the defense for the Spartans holding up their end of the bargain.
Looked like that pile was driven backward as soon as the back went right into it.
But they give him a first down on the play. 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line.
Norfolk State has been into South Carolina State territory 4 times this afternoon. This is South Carolina State's first trip into the Norfolk end of the field.
NEI formation, Edey and Stevens. To give to Edey. Edey still on his feet. Edey is going to hustle, and he made about 2 yards on his own on that play because it looked like that play was doomed from the offset, and still Chad Edey was able to make something happen. Number 1, Chad Edey, the man who likes to get greedy for all the good reasons.
Good pursuit, and they also take away his cutback lanes, and he tries to dance to the outside, and even more pursuit is there. So Johnny on the spot leading the charge was Matt Armstrong, a junior linebacker, but Mr. Edey earned those 3 or 4 yards on nothing other than his sheer effort.
You know, the offensive line of South Carolina State is improving with each and every game. Bowden. And he lets it go. And he was looking for Metcalf, but he just wanted to throw it in his general direction, in that general vicinity. He wanted to just get rid of the ball.
That's one of those situations where you need a sight adjustment. And I think those two guys weren't on the same page of the book, and we've got some laundry on the turf right now. So let's see if the quarterback had... We've got a personal foul against South Carolina. 2 personal fouls, is it?
If that's the case, they're offsetting, and we're just going to pick it up where we left it off.
Have a personal foul, late hit by the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty, 1st and 10.
So a discipline question that time. Let's take a look at this late hit. Bowden getting to the outside. He's going to release the pass, so he's outside the pocket. You cannot take a shot, and that's just poor discipline that time. I think the guilty party is Jelani Fair, a little bit overzealous, and that is a huge play.
Well, they hadn't been across that 50-yard line. Well, guess what? They're trying to get into that red zone in a real big fashion. Chad Edey going back, trying to make something happen.
And you know,
that time, the pursuit was just too much.
If you're going to make a bad play, the way to get out of the coach's doghouse is to step up on the next play and make a better defensive play, and that's what Fair did that time.
Fair was there along with McAfee, a name we have mentioned consistently throughout this entire game, number 57. Fair was there, McAfee was there, and also Jamal Najee, number 98. You talk about guys getting up on the tackle, they continue to make pursuit. They bring it.
Fair made that play, though. He played off his block, strung the play to the outside, and then was able to get a piece of the tackle as well.
Bowden back to pass. Bowden has some time. Bowden finds a receiver, and that's Monty Stokes, and that's a 1st down for South Carolina State inside the 20. Stopped at around about the 19-yard line, and I think they're going to spot it, Mark, at the 17.
You know something? This guy is fearless, and he's relentless, and he's one of the best clutch receivers in the conference. I mean, he makes big plays, and he makes them at big times, and this was an opportunity for him to just help his quarterback out. Nothing fancy. Crossing route, steps right in front of the cornerback, and had he been able to keep his footing, he might have turned around the corner and taken it to the house.
Monty Stokes, a young man who broke some hearts last year when these two teams met. Caught a touchdown with 2 seconds left. Winning touchdown, 31 yards. Monty Stokes doesn't play around, man. He gets the job done. And as you can see, they continue to come on. Tavares Carnes, number 91.
Well, watch this here. At the bottom right of your screen, the hands are going to come up, and this is a basketball school, and that's a rejection. Get that pass out of here.
Mr. Carnes with the nice hands as well. Bowden thinking about the option. He had to keep it.
You know, when you're down here in the red zone and you've got 2 talented pass-receiving tailbacks, why don't you work them into the flat more? I mean, they're safe passes. They don't take a whole lot of time for the quarterback to have to sit there, so consequently, your offensive linemen can pull or do whatever they need to do. You know, this is one aspect of the game that we rarely see South Carolina State use, is the backs in the red zone, in the flat, to make things happen.
Kent Brown and Monty Stokes out as wide receivers. And the give was to, well, intended pass for Metcalf. It was a little too high for the big fella.
But see, that's a bad read by the quarterback, because he's got Stanley Stevens outside locked up with a running back on the far side in the flat, and he was wide open. It was almost like the play we saw in Washington last week where Warwick Dunn had gotten open and Sean King couldn't hit him. Same situation happened on that play. It's just that the quarterback didn't even look in the direction of the running back. And we've got a South Carolina State timeout. And I wanted to follow up on what Coach Jeffries was talking about in terms of parity in this league. I mean, when you look from top to bottom, on any given Saturday now, even when you look at the low-end teams like the Norfolks and the Morgan States, if you don't have your A game on, they'll come up and they will knock your block off. And this was something that Coach Willie Jeffries was concerned about all week, about his team. And as we look at the target schedule for today's games, you see that Morgan State, North Carolina A&T are just about underway right now. This is a game that on paper looks like a prohibitive game in the favor of North Carolina A&T, but the Bears always play them tough. We saw Delaware State last week again. They'll go up against Patel Troutman. And the real show, Circle City Classic, we've got Florida A&M and Grambling. And Doug Williams' team has slowly but surely started getting their offense back around, and their defense has come along. This could be a tall order for Florida A&M in Indianapolis this evening.
And Jay Livingston is going to try to put some points on the board. When you look at the way this guy kicks, it takes you back in the day. He's one of the old-style kickers. He's got the shoe and the whole 9 yards.
And it's blocked.
Well, it really didn't make a difference. Mike Kelly was able to make the recovery.
They lost in look, this is funny. They lined up for a field goal attempt, and the Keystone Cops breaks out. Look at this.
Ziegler just never got his hands on that one and couldn't get a step for Livingston. And there he is, picking it up. Hopefully, he said, Monica, take it to the end zone. Mike Kelly.
Boy, I tell you, this game's been so ugly, it would turn Medusa to stone if she's watching it right now. Woo! It's so ugly contest.
This game is so ugly that Esther off of Sanford and Son looks good to me right now.
And it's picked off. Ooh. Well, the Olympics ended last week, and that was a volleyball play.
Roberts goes up looking for Smith. And in comes the hand of a South Carolina State player, DeWitt Ellaby. And then all of a sudden, Anthony Gathers gets there. Everybody had an opportunity to be a star in that play, Mark.
And nobody
1:11 left to go just before halftime. Ball is on the 30-yard line. Second and 10.
From a passing standpoint, the Bulldogs are traditionally vulnerable in the center of the field. We have not seen the Spartans go in that area yet with the passing game.
Culpepper with the give. And this time, Culpepper is brought down. And the reason why, Joe Whitehead was right there. Number 14, Joe Whitehead.
Offense keeps playing these bad. Both of these coaches are going to be Whiteheads. And Norfolk is going to take a timeout. So you know something? I'm just wondering if Coach Forte and Roberts can get on the same page of the book and pick up the pace of this game to perhaps catch South Carolina State a half a step back. You know, we saw them a few weeks back against Savannah, and Savannah came out with a bit of a no-huddle, not giving South Carolina State an opportunity to make their defensive calls or their substitutions, and they were able to take advantage of those situations, certainly between the 220s. Savannah State's problem was again inside the red zone, so I'm just wondering if Norfolk right now picks up the pace, and they'll have to, given that they've only got one timeout, and they've also got less than a minute to go. Pick up the pace of this game. You know, no huddle, quick counts. See if they can intensify it right now, because South Carolina State's defense is just sitting back and playing right now in the zone and just coming up in support.
Well, we've got 50 seconds left to go just before halftime. And we have an interesting football game that's got you on the defensive side. Smith with the football. Smith is trying to make something happen. In pursuit there of Mr. Smith was Mr. Bethea. Look, check that. Yeah, that was Bethea. Bethea was in pursuit, number 50. And he almost had a chance to bring down Smith, but it just didn't happen. 38.3 seconds left before halftime. We're going to punt one more time. You know, I tell you what, this is like a bad dance with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. 1, 2, 3, punt.
Man, you know something? The punters out here are making more trips to the field than Leo Mazzone did in St. Louis for the first 2 games of the Braves-Cardinals series. They've just been running out there all day long. Yeah, what is this, our 6th or 7th punt of the afternoon right now?
Tell you what, the punters are getting a lot of FaceTime on TV. I can tell you that much. That's for sure.
It's the 10th punt of the afternoon.
It is the 10th punt of the afternoon. Wow. There's Stanley Stevens. Back to punt for Norfolk State.
And you know something, we've been joking about the woes offensively, but that just magnifies the dangerous special teams players on either side right now, because a big return at this point in the game could be critical. And Stevens is dangerous. I tell you something, you talk about somebody whose stock is rising. Stanley Stevens is another one of those, I guess you call them bull market stocks wearing a Bulldog uniform right now, because this kid, his ability to cut, the hands that he shows in the passing game, and his ability to take it to the house with the big play capability has to make him attractive to a number of teams.
What's impressive to me also is his size. I mean, being able to sit and talk with him earlier today, I was able to see his size and his demeanor. He recognized why he didn't play. There was a Derek O'Neill before him last year. Chad Edey, who played extremely good football last season. He said, I had to wait my turn down here, and Coach Willie Jeffrey says, your turn is coming. And so he's finally recognized the system, and hopefully it'll be good for him. Terry Cornett the second with the punt. Stanley Stevens receiving the punt. Stevens still on his feet, trying to outreach the blocker. Stanley Stevens. See, that's what you got to like about Stevens. He looks toward the pressure, and yet he will take it. He'll take the pounding.
Exactly. But he's also got vision and the cut ability to dance away from it. He is tremendous. Well, his feet work. A lot of talented backs in here.
All right, we've got 24 seconds left to go before halftime. And let's face it, if you want Uncle Momentum on your side at halftime, the best way to do it is to score. So you know Coach Willie Jeffries, with a guy like Bowden in there, is going to go for the big-time Hail Mary pass. This guy has a heck of an arm out of Washington, D.C. And he's got a rifle, too. Going for Metcalf. You know what I do like? The mere fact that South Carolina State has tried to employ Metcalf into this offense. They have gone to him. Let's face it, it would have been a touchdown for 6. However, there's a penalty on his side. Number 88 is a young man that they are going to expect a lot of great things from in times to come.
Boy, I tell you, the side, if you're 5'11" or 5'10" receiver, and unless you're running 4.2, don't even think about a MEAC opportunity these days. We've seen receivers 6'5", 6'3", several 6'4" guys right now, big kids who can really run. Boy, that
time he was going for Chad Edey, and there's a flag on the play on that one, and chances are it's going to be holding against South Carolina State. And
or the quarterback might have gone beyond the line of scrimmage when he made that pass.
I think he may have done that as well. Let's see. The penalty is against South Carolina State. Just 10 seconds remaining before halftime, and we're scoreless, Mark, and that's the same way Norfolk State was last week against North Carolina A&T. Well, much to a lot of people's surprise.
Well, the defense has not been the question here in Norfolk this season. It has been offense, and we can see right now that
downfield on White, 5-yard penalty, repeat the second down.
We've seen from an offensive standpoint that schematically, Norfolk State is doing some really creative and interesting things. You've got a bunch of receivers who aren't making catches when they have big play opportunities, and you only get 4 or 5 of them in a game, and you've got to make a couple of them to win.
Bowden going deep. And Bowden was looking once again for the speedster, the sophomore Metcalf. And he was not going to catch up to that one. If anything, it was a possibility of getting intercepted. 2.4 seconds left to go. And you know what's going to happen. We're going for the Hail Mary. Somebody's going deep. So you string them all out. You get to 4 receivers in there. And you say run for the end zone, and whoever can catch it is a good man.
Why is it the Hail Mary? Why can't it be like the mother of Flutie?
I don't know. It could be Brother Leroy just going for it.
Or Arthur Love in this case.
Hey. MEAC College Football Saturday. Ronnie Duncan along with Mark Gray. We've got Donna Hopkins on the sideline. She's our sideline reporter.
And here's the prevent defense.
Let it go up there.
And that was a prevent pass play.
The receivers are fast, but they're not that fast. We've got a scoreless game going into halftime. South Carolina State and Norfolk State in Norfolk, Virginia. Well, one thing we did know, Norfolk had a defense, and they brung their A game. As far as defense is concerned for South Carolina State, which was giving up almost 43 points a game, guess what? Their defense has showed up to play as well, and they're walking off scoreless, both teams.
Well, you know something? You talk about how a team like South Carolina State's defense is stepping up. I'm just wondering, is the South Carolina State defense stepping up, or is it that Norfolk's offense has been so bad that it's making South Carolina State's defense actually look better than they are?
Young man, for questions like that, I've got answers for you in the second half. Coming up at halftime, we've got both bands. I'm talking about the Spartan band as well as the band from across the way. But right now, we've got Coach Jeffries with Donna Hopkins. They're going to be talking in just a few minutes about the game and his perspective as far as what he expects to have and what he wants to do later on in the game.
And this is the South Carolina State marching 101. They want to let you know that they've got one more than that other marching 100 or whatever it is they call them down there in Tallahassee that we'll see next week. No offense to our friends on Sunshine, because we're looking forward to seeing the marching 100 of FAMU next week.
I tell you what, FAMU and North Carolina A&T is a game that I am eagerly anticipating and waiting for. It's a game that's going to provide a lot of excitement. But you know what? There are a lot of people that love college football. And when it comes to college football and the bands, the best shows are in the MEAC. And we have the best shows. We'll have both bands coming up in our halftime show. And like I said before, we're going to be talking with Coach Willie Jeffries in just a few minutes. Donna Hopkins is trying to get with Coach Jeffries. Coach Jeffries has to, of course, address his team. And they have to have some game plans as to what they need to do and what they want to do in the second half of this football game. One name that has been absent, despite the fact on punt and kickoff returns, is Stanley Stevens. The steamer has run out of steam, or someone hasn't started the steam to get him going. Stan the man. Then you look at Chad Eady. So those are questions I'm sure that Donna Hopkins will have for Coach Willie Jeffries in just a few moments.
Well, you know something? I think they're going to have to start incorporating the running backs more into the passing game with short passes.
Hey guys, I'm here with Coach Willie Jeffries. Coach, talk about the first half. It's a scoreless battle out here.
Well, it was a defensive game. I think we all saw that. But they played well defensively, and surprisingly, and I'm happy that we played well defensively. However, I know we can score. We've got to punch some in. Norfolk State has made numerous mistakes offensively, and we haven't been able to punch it in. But it has been a defensive football game.
What's the key in the second half? What will you tell your team?
We've got to eliminate turnovers, and we've got to play good defense. I think if we can play good defense, we can muster up a couple of touchdowns.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
Back to you guys up in the booth.
All right. Thanks a lot, Donna. We appreciate it. And Coach Jeffries spelled it out. They've had opportunities. They have not capitalized on those opportunities. And that's what the Dogs have got to do. Who let the dogs out? Or the dogs still on the leash?
They're
We're going to find out.
Coming up,
we've got a halftime show on MEAC College Football Saturday. Football Saturday, South Carolina State and Norfolk State, and we're scoreless, and we're in the second half of this football game. As you're watching the Marching 101 do their thing, they said, are there any dogs in this house? Well, the dogs on the football field, and right now, it's a band show sponsored by NUE. Coming up, we've got highlights coming your way of this game. And let's go to the highlights. And let's go to our United Postal Service halftime show and take a look at what's been happening in this game and why this game is scoreless. Mark Gray, take it away. Stanley Stevens, we talked about him at the beginning. And right now, Stanley Stevens has had some opportunities that he was not able to hold on to.
Hey, this is a catch that he has to make, because that would have certainly been a touchdown. But he comes back, makes a big catch right here to keep a drive moving that went for naught, and then he'll show you some versatility. One of the things I think makes him a great candidate for the next level is his ability, as you see, taking a punt, looking for blockers, getting to the outside, giving his offense an opportunity to have good field position to start a drive.
He's got to have more opportunities, but on the other side of the ball, are there any highlights? A scoreless game.
Well,
what about South Carolina State? Aaron Culpepper, number 35. He got wrapped up by the defense, and the defense was there in the highlights. But Culpepper did make some things happen.
Well, this is about his only great run of the first half. He gets down the near sideline and into South Carolina State territory, and now he goes in running into the teeth of the defensive front once again. So all things considered, as we look at the Xerox halftime stats, boy, look at it. 124 yards total offense for Norfolk State. You've got 108 yards of offense for South Carolina State. Just an ugly first half. Ugh.
Yeah, passing 64 and 10. We'll come back with much more of this game. Things are looking good on the field now. Let's see if they look better after this. State. MEAC College Football Saturday. Ronnie Duncan, Mark Gray, and Donna Hopkins all with you. Now it's time for the Greyhound Band Show. And it's time to take a look at the marching Spartans, Legion of Norfolk State.
And as the Legion imitates the sounds of Santana's guitar, perform their moves like an East LA movie star.
It's still scoreless. South Carolina State and Norfolk State. Now Donna Hopkins is down on the sideline with Coach Mo Forte. Donna?
Hey guys, Coach, talk about the first half and how do you get some points on the board? They kept you all scoreless also.
I'll tell you what, it's tough for us right now. Those mistakes I was talking about we had to eliminate before the game, it bit us on the first drive right there, and we were moving the ball and we fumbled the ball. But we've got to get back in focus right here and get in sync and get in rhythm. Our defense is playing great right now, and that's why we still have an opportunity to win this football game. But I feel we're going to come back and we're going to get the job done.
One good thing about your defense, and they were in the position to score just before the half, but you all had that big block field goal.
Right, that was good right there for us. I wish we would have been able to pick it up and run with it and score. That would have given us 7 points right there, but we didn't. So our defense just played great the last 3 games that we've had. So, you know, we're banking on them. They're going to carry us through this 30 minutes here. We're going to eliminate the mistakes offensively and come back and win.
What did you tell the receivers? They're dropping some balls right in the numbers.
Yeah, I told them they just have to focus. You know, you don't want to get in on anybody and try to get them down, but, you know, you have to make them aware of the fact that, you know, if you take those balls that we caught, we move the chains and possibly into the end zone.
Good luck, Coach, in the second half.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, back to you upstairs.
All right, Donna, we appreciate it so much. You know, Coach Forte made some interesting points.
And he talks about how his receivers have to step up and keep their focus and make big plays. And to me, that's where it comes down to. Open up the reins of the offense, let the receivers do some work, and they got to haul in some plays.
We've begun a new era of football in the year 2000, but what about the teams of the 90s in the MEAC? Well, you see it. It's all about FAMU and North Carolina A&T. Hampton is there. What about Howard University? The HU still standing up strong. South Carolina State with 64 wins in the 90s with 65 losses. Delaware State, that started, of course, the 90s off in great fashion, 50-55. And at the bottom, a team that's been struggling, Morgan State University, 20-87. Stanley Mitchell's got a lot of work ahead of him.
You give props to Florida A&M because they had to go. They still lead in terms of being a team of the 90s, but remember, they had a coaching change, and not too many teams change coaches and maintain their level of excellence.
Speaking of the Bears of Morgan State, they're losing quite handily down in Greensboro, North Carolina, to the A&T Aggies, 14-0 in the second quarter. A game that starts off at 2 o'clock. It'll be Delaware State and Bethune-Cookman. Also at 4 o'clock, it's the Circle City Classic as FAMU takes on Grambling, trying to hold up those MEAC honors in Indianapolis, Indiana. Should be quite interesting going up against Doug Williams' Grambling Tigers.
We're going to change the name of Florida A&M. The given name should be the #1 ranked in all black college polls, Florida A&M Rattlers for right now.
And it seems like they take that honor with some type of consistency, but they've got a big game next week, and you can see it on MEAC College Football Saturday when the Aggies of North Carolina A&T take on the Rattlers of FAMU.
So we basically can call it a battle for #1 and #2, not only in the MEAC, but all of black college at this point.
I tell you what,
season.
when you talk about supporting fans, ain't nothing like a Rattler fan, and the Rattler fans will be out in huge numbers for this game.
Sandman's getting ready to come out here with his Aggie stripes on and yoke you for making a remark like that.
I can tell you one thing, they're dedicated fans, they're very loyal, and all fans of the MEAC are, but there's one thing about those FAMU fans. They will let you know whether they like you, whether they don't. It doesn't make a difference. They are all about the Rattlers.
And so are the Aggies about A&T.
Oh, you know, it's going to be a battle. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Tallahassee next weekend. You know what? I'm not going to celebrate my birthday until after the game.
All right.
All right. My birthday is the 14th, and I'll celebrate after the game.
It's funny how you dropping hints all of a sudden.
I just want a nice gift from you, Mark.
Obviously.
You know, I mean, I feel like I give you so much love. Why can't I get a nice gift? In the I formation, it is 1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. And this time, Smith is going nowhere fast.
I'm telling you, after that, after starting with like 41 yards on his first 5 carries, what has he got, about 4 yards on 5 carries since? He's done absolutely nothing. And I really think that at this point in the game, Coach Forte, who really wants to throw the football, needs to start getting the running backs into the passing game. We saw the fullback catch a couple of balls in the first half. I think at that point, you then open up or you extend the defense to have to drop back a little more. Maybe then your wide receivers can get open underneath and make some big things happen.
We'll see what happens. 2nd and 9, ball on the 40-yard line, and there's a whistle and a flag on the play.
And no, we have a timeout. Timeout taken by Norfolk State, coming right out after the intermission and having to blow a timeout. And you don't want to be guilty of overstatement, but those are mistakes coming right out after the half that are you really can't afford to have, especially when you're a struggling team. Points are going to be at a premium. You may need a timeout later on a critical drive, and you may not have it there. So that may resonate later in the game as a huge turn of events that goes against Norfolk State.
If you're just joining us, we are early in the second half of this football game, in the third quarter. It is scoreless, Norfolk State and South Carolina State. MEAC College Football Saturday. Don't forget, next week we've got a huge one for you. North Carolina A&T taking on the Rattlers of FAMU, and they say bragging rights on the line for that one. All right, single back. Roberts is your quarterback. Roberts gives to Smith. Smith does a cross, and he picks up about 6 yards on the play.
Showing good ability to cut back that time, but we've got a flag, and maybe, just maybe, South Carolina State was a bit overzealous in beating the snap count. Anxious to see whether or not they were offsides. No, but we've got holding against Norfolk.
And the ball was spotted at the 45-yard line, so they're going to have to back it up.
And, you know, Norfolk has been backing it up a great deal thanks to hurting themselves all game. They've been killing themselves with penalties.
Back in the game is Jeff Hankerson.
By the offense, the 10-yard penalty, repeat the down.
Back in the game for Norfolk State, find a receiver, Jeff Hankerson.
And look at him, look at Mo Forte just lamenting the mistakes. And we've got a young quarterback, and everything isn't clicking on all cylinders. You know, watching the struggles of this offense with this young quarterback make me really appreciate a guy like Patel Troutman, who was able to come into this conference as a freshman and do work.
2nd and 17 from the 31-yard line. Roberts back. Roberts looking for a receiver, and once again, Tyrone Sellers was the intended receiver's passing complete.
Just an ugly play once again. I mean, it was a half roll, it was a bad pass, and an even worse attempt by the receiver to try to haul it in. So it looks like we're still at ground zero. More than just on the scoreboard.
One play can turn things around. 3rd and 17, ball on the 31-yard line. Roberts, despite the drop passes, has not lost his confidence to throw the ball, and he's going to let this one go. And once again, intended receivers were Sellers, but the ball was too low.
When he broke his pattern off to the center of the field, he was open. Again, another one of those one-hop ground ball passes, which has Sellers frustrated.
Well, the frustration is mounting in this game. There is no score. It will be a huge mistake, a turnover, or someone will be left sleeping on this one. Set to receive is Stanley Stevens. Doing the punting, Terry Cornett II. And they're going to have to spark that ball somewhere around the 40-yard line at around the 37. We're going to come back with much more action. It's MEAC College Football Saturday, a scoreless game. South Carolina State and Norfolk State. Will the Dogs be let out? Will the Spartans start to fly? It's coming up. Game, but something's going to happen. You never know. Hey, check this out. Get the Dickens to the Sheridan Norfolk Waterside in the Virginia Stage Company for their special holiday package for the Charles Dickens classic, A Christmas Carol. Your holiday package for the two include tickets to the play, the MacArthur Center canvas tote bag, valet parking at the hotel, shuttle transportation to and from the show, a deluxe room, breakfast the next morning. The package for two begins at $109, including tax. Additional persons are only $20 each. Show dates run from December 1st to December 23rd. Make this event a holiday tradition for your family. Call 1-800-325-3535 or 757-622-6664.
Props to Ken Hawkins for an outstanding job of taking care of us. And I just wonder, you know, for you family guys, that's a great package. I'm just wondering for us single guys, does Carol come with the Christmas package?
I don't know. You just have to make sure you get down and call that number. That is 1-800-325-3535, Mark. It's a toll-free call. Even you can get some.
If I'm lucky.
Personal foul on the offense. It's a dead ball foul, 15 yards.
Wow, so South Carolina State has a positive offense, a couple of positive offensive plays, and then they shoot themselves right in the foot once again. And there's the Spartan Legion still bringing the funk, so to speak.
I tell you what, they're pounding the drums. Now they want that offense to start pounding a little bit more. So we'll see what happens when we look at this game, because now we've got Reese McCampbell back in the game at quarterback. McCampbell back to pass. Play action. McCampbell finds a receiver. Did you see that? Metcalf had the ball in traffic, lost it, and lost it again. You talk about transition in a passing game. That was transition as far as I could see.
That was just an awful pass. It's awful with a capital awful. Look, he's going to throw this. It's a post pattern. No, capital awful. All 5 letters. This is bad. Triple coverage, and his receiver still almost bailed him out. Still not a pass that shouldn't have been thrown. You know, coach will, everybody will give props to the receiver. Great effort. You know, defensive backs will get their love when they look at the tape. Great coverage. Quarterback coach will have him running laps for making a decision like that.
It's amazing to me that Metcalf almost pulled it off.
Right.
That's what had me going. The mere fact that the ball was in the hands of Metcalf, lost it, got it back again, and lost it.
Amazing. And you know something? I think you're going to see South Carolina State pull the reins off their offense a lot more here in the second half, because they've been able to get deep downfield and they haven't fooled anybody, and a lot of times quarterbacks have been making bad decisions with their passes.
But you can tell the frustration on offense. Okay? You go with Reese McCampbell, you go with Avery Bowden.
No flow.
Every time you turn around, there's a different quarterback in there, and the offensive line, the offensive unit as a whole is saying, who's the leader?
Got to settle on one. Somebody for your center, you know, the snap between center and quarterback.
Well, what does that do for a young man's confidence? I'm in, I'm out. I'm in, I'm out. I don't know. And that's the situation South Carolina has been dealing with. Once again, Reese Campbell, but he finds him. Number 25, Stanley Stevens, and that's the steamer. He's Stanley the man, and he is MEAC. See you later.
Touchdown, South South Carolina State.
61-yard touchdown. Stanley Stevens, you were wondering when we would see him. The offense has finally got on board.
Well, Ronnie, I was telling you in the first half how I like when South Carolina State had their backs into the flat, that they could do a lot of work, they'd have a lot of success offensively. Well, they came with a pass that started in the near flat, and he takes it to the center of the field. Safe quarterback-friendly route. Dumps it out here into the flat. Nobody can come up and support. Watch this cut right here, and he is off to the races. It was Norfolk, the school that produced a number of Olympians who won gold medals, and it's Stanley Stevens of South Carolina State taking it to the house in gold medal fashion.
Atkinson with the point after. It was good. It is now 7-0. South Carolina State with the lead. The reason why, a 61-yard touchdown from that man, Stanley Stevens. Happy guy because Stanley Stevens has upset him. The reason why, let's take a look at it in our National Car Rental scoring drive, and it looked like this. What a pass, what a pass.
Well, it started with Chad Eady setting him up the middle, picking up a couple of tough yards, and then Stevens takes a short pass, gets into the center of the field, explodes into the secondary, and just outruns everybody. And that was the National Car Rental scoring drive. Remember, green means go with National Car Rental. Call 1-800-CAR-RENT or book online at www.nationalcar.com.
Well, you've got a happier sideline right now with South Carolina State. Picking up the ball and taking it up on the kickoff.
And I guarantee you will see a spirited defensive effort by South Carolina State. And sometimes that would leave them vulnerable to misdirections or something like that. So if Mo Forte has a cross-up play that he can run right now within the next 3 or 4 plays, it may do some work. And when I talk about cross-up plays, I'm talking like a reverse, a flea flicker, something like that to get his offense some confidence.
1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. I formation is the offensive scheme. And that was Roberts looking for Sellers, but the pass was ruled incomplete.
You know, I talked to a lot of people close to the program, and when I got down here earlier this week, they talk about how the backs and the quarterbacks really don't have confidence in their offensive front. And a lot of times you see quarterbacks get back into their pass drop and happy feet, not confident. That was not a confident pass. It was almost like he was looking for pressure that was not there, which is why he fired another 2-hop grounder into the flat.
Smith with the ball picks up about 3 yards on the play.
And that's about the first time we've seen some kind of significant positive yardage, albeit maybe only 4 or 5 since those early couple of trips where he first got the football. So the maligned South Carolina State defensive front has done a good job of stepping up and at least containing the Norfolk offense, certainly the backs right now. And Mo Forte wants to run. He wants to run to set up the pass. I'll tell you, he could take a page out of South Carolina State's book and try to get the ball to his running backs.
3rd and about 5, Abraham on the run. Did you see Abraham, number 58, come out of nowhere, the linebacker, Eric Abraham, and he was in hot pursuit of Mr. Roberts.
Well, I think it's designed for him to be unabated, but Roberts just got around the corner, had nobody to throw to. And now the adjustment clearly has to be made by the Norfolk State coaches. I mean, I think you got to start incorporating the running backs more into the passing attack. But, of course, that does leave your quarterback vulnerable. And with the woes that they've been having up front with their offensive line, it's definitely a gamble at this point.
Terry Cornett doing the punting duties. He'll be punting to Stanley Stevens, who just ran off a 61-yard reception on a touchdown. That ball will be down inside the 30, right around the 30-yard line.
Come on, D!
And so that's where the Bulldogs, who just got let out. Who let the dogs out? I can tell you this much. Stanley Stevens is staying the man.
And you know something, now that you've seen the running back be so effective with the short pass, that'll definitely open up the deep downfield stuff. They've wanted to try to get the ball to Metcalf and Stokes on a couple of occasions. I think it'll be a little bit easier for South Carolina State from here on out.
Monty Stokes and Metcalf are your wideouts. I formation again to Chad Eady. Chad Eady turned the corner. Chad Eady is met by Marcus Gray and company.
And to me, that plays right into the strength of the Norfolk State defense, Ronnie. I mean, you're running the football. You know these guys, certainly their front seven is good at pursuing and taking away your cutback lanes. and then you come with a sweep pass after you had some success with the short passing game.
You know, a lot of times people will look at a football game, and especially at the beginning, and you start talking about a guy like Marcus Gray, number 9, a guy we just saw in the tackle, and you're wondering if this guy is all that, and that's why you guys profiled him at the beginning. How come we haven't heard a lot from him? When you are that good as a defensive back, oftentimes the offense makes sure none of the plays come on your side of the ball, and it's basically a margin of respect.
And that front 7 for Norfolk right now is just doing a tremendous job holding up at the point of attack, and the linebackers are doing a great job in run support. And once again, Chad Eady stopped on his attempt to try to pick up a couple of yards. So South Carolina State has something positive by throwing early in a drive when it wasn't 3rd and long, when you can have your pass defense package in. Now they get themselves back into a 3rd and long situation, and it gives Norfolk's defense a significant advantage here.
They can make it 3rd and 11 from the 29-yard line. Number 57, Von McAfee, has been huge in this game. Once again, it's Monty Stokes. Is that a reception? I believe it is. Monty Stokes with a huge reception for South Carolina State.
And it looks like he's going to be marked just a little short of the 1st down. Check that. He gets a 1st down. So you know something? I think Norfolk State's defense that time, by calling off the dogs, so to speak, going into more of a zone, they drop back. I was expecting in that situation to see blitzes, maybe a stunt coming up the middle or something. They played back, and Stokes burned him.
Reese McCampbell is your quarterback. It's the I formation. We've got an offside. It looks this time like Norfolk State jumped the gun. I believe it was Tavorius Carnes guilty of the mistake.
He's had some good moments and some bad moments this afternoon, but you talk to any of the defensive coaches,
offside defense,
or any of the other supporters of the Norfolk State program, that's one of the first things they tell you. We're glad to have him back in the lineup.
Well, Reese McCampbell has come in and sparked a little confidence into the Bulldogs. Once again, Von McAfee, 57, on the tackle of Chad Eady, who tried to take it right up the gut. And McAfee and company were right there. Number 57, despite the fact that Norfolk is trailing in this game, has played huge.
Exactly. And when you're running up the middle against Norfolk State, you're playing into the strength of their defense. You know, the vulnerable places are certainly in the secondary and outside on the edges, the perimeter plays. But South Carolina State, they have their beliefs, and they carry them real strongly.
That time McCampbell was spinning off the option. Fake was to shot Eady. Time running off the clock. We're under 9 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter.
Well, here's a big play. 3rd and short. South Carolina State scored on a big play in the previous possession. They've clearly got the momentum on the side. You know South Carolina State has been a team that traditionally likes to just line it up and blast people in a situation like this. So Norfolk State's defense faces their first real critical test of this game. And they answer.
And Eady does not get the 1st down.
The perimeter plays are there. When South Carolina State decides they want to get outside either with the passing game or the sweeps, it's been pretty much successful this afternoon. I was a little shocked that they tried to run right back into the teeth on 3rd and short of the Norfolk defense.
And playing right into Tavorius Carnes.
But maybe, just maybe, it's a 2-down area, and South Carolina State is going to go for it.
Let's see, 4th and 1 inches. Ball is on the 48. McCampbell calls a timeout. South Carolina State.
Well, I guess they figured that Norfolk was going to give you a favor in their first drive coming out of the after halftime. Coach Willie Jeffries probably is going to return at that time.
You know, Norfolk State has a very strong track and field team. You know, my daughter, who is like 5th best in the state of Ohio, is considering Norfolk State. She enjoys the whole program here. As a matter of fact, I think she's going to come with me on the 21st when we come back to Norfolk State, because she wants to take a look at the campus. So believe me, if you're a track star, basketball star, baseball, or football, consider a MEAC school. A lot of success has happened here, and this is MEAC College Football Saturday. Get an opportunity to be on television with a basketball and television contract put together by Charles Harris, who happens to be the commissioner of the conference. So you get national television exposure, and you get a great life. You and I are products of MEAC schools, Morgan State University, and we've had a lot of fun just doing the games, but at the same time, being a part of the MEAC.
Homecoming every week.
You know that's right. Ziegler with the punt. And This is a good one. They're going to down this inside the 5, but right at the 5-yard line. Now let's go downstairs to Donna Hopkins.
Yes.
Donna?
Is closed in at the 6-yard line of Norfolk.
Hey guys, I'm here with Laverne Sweat. She was assistant women's coach for the Olympics women's team. Laverne, talk about the thrill of being in your first Olympics.
Oh, it was outstanding. I was very excited. I was just overwhelmed with the enormity in terms of the crowd. 112,000 people. Even early in the morning at 10 o'clock, there were that many people in the stands watching the Olympics. And just to think that I was a part of that just gives me chills.
How close were you with the action back here being the time difference over in Australia?
Listen, I had a struggle to get used to the time difference when I first got there, but then I got acclimated after a couple of days. And then I never set my watch back from Eastern Standard Time, so I always knew what time it was back home.
You also are the head coach here at Norfolk State with the women's cross-country team and track team.
Yes, I am. I've been here, I'm going on 13 years as the head women's track coach here, and we've had some outstanding young ladies. And one of the young ladies that ran at the Olympics that was on my team here at Norfolk. So we have produced some young ladies that have been really good in track and field.
Where do you go from here, being that was your first Olympic and that big of a thrill?
Oh my, I don't know. Anything else is kind of anticlimactic, don't you think? But I have had a number of international teams. This has just been my first Olympics, and I'm very excited about it. I don't think I'll get another one anytime soon because they kind of rotate around.
Thanks a lot. Also, guys, I'm here with the president of Norfolk State, Marie McDermott. Talk about this game today. I mean, they were scoreless, and how exciting it is just being out here today.
Well, right now, South Carolina State has a 7-point lead, but we know the Spartan offense is going to come back, and we're going to win this game. Our defense has been tremendous in the last 3 or 4 games, and we know our offense is going to come up to the charge and win today.
Talk about the MEAC in general this year.
Well, the MEAC is a very powerful conference with FAMU, Hampton, South Carolina State, the Aggies, and North Carolina A&T. We know that we are going to be a powerhouse. This is only our 3rd year in the MEAC in Division I, so we are indeed pulling up to Division I status very strong.
Thanks a lot. Back to you guys up in the booth.
All right, Donna, thanks a lot. And we've got some great information from those young ladies. And, of course, the MEAC is strong. And Coach Sweat, you might be hearing from my daughter soon. But talk about what's been happening. It's the mere fact that the Norfolk State Spartans have been able to take the ball from the 5-yard line and move it all the way to the 39.
Well, I just wanted to go back to Coach Sweat for a second. It's definitely a family affair here at Norfolk State. Coach Laverne Sweat handles the track team and the cross-country team. Her husband, James Sweat, is a pretty successful coach of the women's basketball team. When they were in Division II, this is one of the dominant women's basketball programs in America. So Norfolk has been getting their thing off for quite a long time, even prior to stepping up to Division I.
And right now, Norfolk is getting their thing off on the football field because they're moving the ball 1st and 10 from the 41-yard line.
This is the first time that we've seen any kind of really positive, consistent type of offensive rhythm to Norfolk State this afternoon. And if you're a Norfolk State supporter, you got to hope that they don't do anything crazy like shoot themselves in the foot.
All right, let's see what happens here. 1st and 10. Roberts back to pass. He was looking for the big tight end across the middle. Dwayne Green.
Boy, hit him right in his hands. Decent coverage that time, but his skill players do not do a good job of picking their quarterback up. I mean, when you're on a team, you got to pick your quarterback up if you're a receiver. If you're a back, you got to be out in the flat. You got to haul him in. And, you know, it's a dilemma that Mo Forte has in terms of, you know, calling plays that put all of his skill players in good positions to help the quarterback out.
2nd and 10, ball on the 41. Smith still on his feet. Smith finally brought down by the point guard.
That's right. Shivers in there on the stop. And that's a different form of defense. I wonder when we see that kind of tenacious defensive pressure when he suits up for Cy Alexander in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll see what happens on that one.
Next week, as a matter of fact, Midnight Madness next Friday night at 12 a.m.
Ball on the 45-yard line. That'll make it 3rd and about 6 yards to go for a 1st down. Mo Forte and the Spartans are trying to keep those markers moving. Under 5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Roberts under pressure. Roberts had Sellers, and Sellers couldn't hold on. That would have easily been a first down.
And you know why? Because Anthony Gathers does a good job of being in position and meeting the ball as soon as it gets towards the receiver's hands.
It was 6 on 6. It was 6 on 6. It was number 6 taking on number 6. All right, once again, another opportunity for Stanley Stevens. We saw what he did, a 61-yard touchdown on a pass from Reese McCampbell. But now Stevens is set to receive. Cornett set for the punt. The punt is up, and it's a good punt. Driving him back, and they're going to have to down this one at around about the 17-yard line.
But now the defense has to step up and make a big play.
I take that back. That's around the 12-yard line. All right, Stanley Stevens and Chad Edey and group will find out that the offense still has more energy, more stuff to do coming up on MEAC College Football Saturday. MEAC College campuses throughout the states are very involved in the community, and this is the 53rd annual Fish Bowl, and it's a big time to have a great time here on the campus of Norfolk State University. And once again, South Carolina State cheerleaders have a lot to be excited about. They're leading right now, 7-0, and they've got the offense. Reese McCampbell with the give to Chad Edey. Chad Edey breaking off something special, and he gets a first down for the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. Number 1, Chad Edey.
And it's another one of those off-tackle type of trap plays, and he just kind of hid behind one of the big nasties and exploded once the line had done their job to open the hole at the point of attack. So Mr. Edey slowly but surely getting back into his groove, if you will, after Mr. Stevens had taken it to the house to give the Bulldogs the lead. So in a perfect world, they've got a nice balance between the explosiveness and power of both of the backs.
Chad Edey once again picks up about 7 yards on the play.
And if I recall correctly, a couple of years ago when we were here for this very Fish Bowl, I think it was Chad Edey who rushed for somewhere near 200 yards, somewhere about 179. So he likes this ballpark. He has done some of his best work in this building, and he must like coming down here by the Virginia Bay.
Metcalf and Monty Stokes are your wideouts. I formation. They give to Chad Edey, and that's another first down. It appears.
Well, it looks like, at least on this drive, on the first couple of plays, at the point of attack, maybe South Carolina's relentless pounding is beginning to take an effect on Norfolk, because that surge, which was not there for the first, 2.5 quarters, at the point of attack is now going in the direction of the Bulldogs, and that's got to make Coach Willie Jeffrey smile. I mean, he's got to see those big nasties up front opening those holes. He's got Chad Edey following the blocks of Stanley Stevens. I mean, you know, not having a prototype fullback is not hurting these backs at all.
Stanley Stevens, but he was in trouble that time. Stevens brought down for a loss.
That was Edey that time. Taking a pitch, trying to go up in the secondary, following the block of Stanley Stevens. Well, here's that Norfolk State defense. Guys like Marcus Grave are definitely going to have to step up and make a big play. You get the feeling that if Norfolk is going to win this game, the defense is going to have to score a touchdown for them. As a matter of fact, coming into this game, the defense had accounted for their only points this year.
Pass incomplete, going for Monty Stokes.
Think about how good Monty Stokes would be if they had a quarterback who had some rhythm that would be up under the snap, up under center all the time.
Well, potentially, he will get a shot to play at the next level because of what he can do with the football. And I'm impressed with, not only can he go deep, but Monty Stokes does so well after he catches the football. He can make you miss. And he is the type of wide receiver who does not mind traffic.
Wayne C. with a good job of coverage that time.
Chad Edey had an opportunity, not Chad Edey, but Stanley Stevens. And he had an opportunity to make another big play on that one. Stanley Stevens, number 25.
Unofficially, that's got to be about the 5th drop pass by South Carolina State receivers this afternoon. Amazing. And he had nothing but clean sailing to the end zone if he hauls it in.
Once again, Frank Ziegler putting him back in the punting situation. And that is a beautiful punt. Lands it around the 12 or 13-yard line.
Well, Mo Forte has seen a number of things work. He saw some short passing. He saw the effectiveness with his running game going up the middle. I'm just wondering when the backs start getting incorporated into the passing attack. I know coming in that the Spartans coaching staff felt like they had an opportunity to run the football today. And to this point, they're doing flips on the sidelines. And that's something that the offense has been doing all day, just flipping all over themselves, or tripping all over themselves, if you will.
You know, Mark, we've had 15 punts in this game alone, and we're still in the third quarter. Damian Smith for a first down for Norfolk State.
So once again, an impressive beginning to a drive, and South Carolina State is becoming a victim of the Norfolk State consistent pounding of the running attack. This is just a simple play up the middle, and he just explodes there, and that just shows the vulnerability of the defensive front of the Bulldogs. And normally, it's been a situation where this season, Norfolk State has been great from 20 to 20 all season. They haven't gotten down near South Carolina State's 20-yard line in this game.
First and 10 from the 25-yard line. Roberts gives to Culpepper. Culpepper gains 6, and he's only 4 yards shy of a first down.
Good, tough, hard running. And this team is still playing with a lot of confidence. You know, after the big play and giving it up, the defense has sort of infused some life. And Culpepper up the middle this time, just dancing and barreling over tacklers and bringing up a second and short.
One thing you know for sure, Mo Forte's teams will never give up.
Nope.
The Spartans are huge, and they can get some things done. The talent is there. It's just a matter of it all coming together at one time. Once again, that's a first down, and it's looking good for the Spartans. They continue to move the ball. Leon McMullen on the reception, number 33, bringing in the fullback and letting him get a part of the juicy highlights and being a star.
Well, we saw in the first half that he was able to get out into the flat and make a couple of catches, and I was wondering when they were going to come back to him. And those are the things when your run game is stifling just a little bit. The short passes can work just as effectively as your running game does, and I think they got to incorporate the running backs into the passing game a little bit more.
Damian Smith.
Oh, man. This play's coming back, though. South Carolina, Norfolk was moving. I think the fullback was a little bit early. He beat the snap count trying to get outside the lead and block. Got some illegal motion there. So once again, the drive is flowing. They're getting into some kind of continuity, offensive rhythm, and all of a sudden, boom, shoot yourself in the foot with an illegal motion penalty. It's been killing Norfolk on critical drives, at critical points on drives all afternoon long.
On the offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat the down.
That's a play that happens between your ears. You know, that's something outside your coach's hands.
Point taken, point received.
And now the burden falls on the young offensive front.
Nice snap. The give is to Smith. Smith turning the corner. Smith trying to make it happen. And depending upon the snap, that could be another first down.
I like that formation, man. That's a spread formation with the shotgun. You let your quarterback and your quarterback gives the ball to the running back, and he just does an effective job as we head to the final stanza.
We'll find out whether Norfolk State has enough to make it happen in the fourth quarter when we come back with MEAC College Football Saturday. South Carolina State, they've invaded William Dick Price Stadium to take the lead in the third quarter over Norfolk State. But the Spartans' offense is starting to generate some sparks. Coach Mo Forte just had some words with John Roberts, the quarterback, and he wants to make sure that this drive is continued toward the road to success, and that would mean points in the end zone.
Wow. The official threw a flag, as the quarterback was going down. We're going to have 2 flags here. I don't know what the first one was, but I know the second one is definitely going to be intentional grounding.
One man who got into the backfield who wasn't a welcome guest was Donnie Berry. He brings down John Roberts.
And this is a killer. I mean, you're back in South Carolina State territory once again to open the 4th quarter, and you have
holding by the offense. We have intentional grounding by the offense.
Donnie Berry was the man causing the pressure. And the pressure was there. The intentional grounding. Mo Forte is upset. Here's our Xerox 3rd quarter stats. And these are cumulative stats throughout the 3rd quarter of the game. And look at the yards rushing, 175 for Norfolk State University. Just 94 for Stanley Stevens, Chad Eady and company of South Carolina State. But the time of possession, 25-58, 19:02. South Carolina State leads it.
As ugly as this game has been, those statistics don't really look as bad as one would think. Let's look at that holding call up in the middle. Looks like it was big number 68 will be guilty of that infraction. And then the quarterback just is holding on for dear life trying to get rid of the football. So a big-time screw-up. Dad used to tell me, Ronnie, when you're going to screw up, screw all the way up. Norfolk did on that play. They screwed up in a major way.
Kyle Lott was a young man who was called for. And a loss of a down. That was huge, Mark. And that's a mistake that Norfolk State could ill afford to have at this time. Precious time. Fans come out. Norfolk State very involved in the community. Coach Mo Forte is recruiting from the area, doing an exceptional job.
But how much help can all that be to Coach Forte when his team faces a 1st and 28?
But it hurts right now. But he's back in the community, and he's making friends. He's at high school games. They have clinics. They're doing a lot here in the Norfolk-Hampton community to try to keep these young men here at home. And you've got to admire that for Coach Forte. Man, he is ramping and up and down the sidelines. He's not pleased right now. John Roberts trying to make something happen real quick. And the pass incomplete over the head of Damian Smith.
It was good coverage that time by South Carolina State out there in the flat. Austin Kinley does a good job of coverage. He didn't buy the play fake, and consequently, that play went for naught. So an excellent job by number 20 that time for stepping up and just thwarting the effort. It was a good play. It was a good play caller trying to hit the back on the far flat, let him do some work into the secondary. And had it not been for number 20, he was off to the races with Smith.
That's Justin Kinley. 3rd and 31. Ball at the 32. This is a huge down. Pass intended for Hankerson. And that was the 7th drop pass of this game.
Well, that's a concentration issue because, with all due respect, look at the pressure that Roberts is under, and he delivers a strike over a linebacker, in front of a safety, and he gave his receiver a chance to make a play, and these guys aren't stepping up.
Hankerson was hearing the feet. They weren't pity pats. They were thumps.
Jeff Hankerson was the intended receiver, but these kids do nothing to help their quarterback.
Stanley Stevens back to receive this punt. Takes it around the 23-yard line, crosses the 25, return of about 6 yards.
I guess we'll go to break.
We're going to come back with much more of this game. It is 7-0 South Carolina State leading Norfolk State, and the Bulldogs have the ball. Football will soon have a MEAC product. Punted. FAMU's wide receiver Jacque Nunley had 8 catches for 52 yards versus Howard University last Saturday. He now has 264 regular season catches, placed 3rd all-time in Division I AA. Only Mississippi Valley's Jerry Rice with 301 catches, and Idaho's Casey Dunn with 268 are ahead of him. This young man could definitely go ahead of Casey today. Here's the scoreboard at North Carolina A&T leading the Bears of Morgan State 26-0, while Dell State and Bethune-Cookman in a tight one. And Matthews and Troutman are getting it done. It is Bethune-Cookman leading 6-3 in the 1st quarter. And later tonight, FAMU taking on Grambling at the Circle City Classic in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I think we'll find out a lot about Bethune-Cookman, certainly their pass defense this afternoon, unless Delaware State puts the clamps on the passing offense and for some misguided reason like we saw last week.
Darian McCants. Stanley Stevens picks up about 2 yards on the play.
And there's still a whole lot
that's
of
a first down for South Carolina State.
Let's watch this play once again. A spirited defensive effort, but the power of Stanley Stevens. And what more, when you're looking for a running back, do you need than what you get in Stanley Stevens? Speed to get to the outside, power to run between the tackles, good hands, can make big plays in the passing game. I mean, to me, he does it all.
There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go.
Defense continues to play strong. Chad Edey picking up a yard on the play.
You know, normally only down one score with 13 minutes to go. You don't start looking at the clock. You got a woeful offense like Norfolk. Clock is definitely in favor of South Carolina State already, especially with the ball in midfield, although the special teams, the place-kicking unit of South Carolina State isn't really something you have to fear this season.
Reese McCampbell once again back as your quarterback to give to Stanley Stevens. Stevens turning a corner, but Stevens once again brought back Mr. McAfee there on the hit, 57.
Boy, he's impressive. Having a big day is Von McAfee all over, whether it's pass coverages, whether it's blitzing, whether it's in run support. A huge game for number 57.
That will make it 3rd and 7. Ball on the 44-yard line.
Well, here's a big time for the defense of Norfolk State to step up. They've got to hold them here to give their offense a chance to get some semblance of decent field position for the next drive.
Reese McCampbell still on his feet. McCampbell for the first down. McCampbell crosses the 50, and he's brought down at the 45.
Good job of field generalship in that situation by McCampbell. You know, instead of forcing the passes, as we've seen Roberts and on many occasions Bowden do this afternoon, he just pulls it down and, you know, lets his legs do the talking. And had it not been for a trip, he might have still been running. Somebody looked like they leg whipped him to bring him down.
1st and 10 from the 45-yard line. Chad Edey up the middle and brought down.
Yeah, you can see that slowly but surely right now, Ronnie, that the South Carolina State offensive line is beginning to wear down the defensive front of Norfolk just a little bit.
Now, you're playing Willie Jeffries football right now, where you are containing that clock and it's running in your benefit because he loves a running game.
There was an incredible disparity in terms of the time of possession coming into the 4th quarter, and this is where you start seeing Willie Jeffries' team start taking over in the pass, blasting people up front, wearing them down, so in the 4th quarter, guys like Edey can get off.
Edey trying to make that turn, but who was there? Von McAfee.
Everywhere. Suffice to say, he has been ubiquitous this afternoon. See, look at him. Don't they know you got to put somebody on him? Well, that was almost a clip. The guy pushed him in the back and pushed him towards the back.
Somehow he gets to the ball. Doesn't make a difference. Either intentional or by mistake, Von McAfee will get there. Under 11 minutes of play in this football game. 7-0 South Carolina State has the lead. And we've got offsides, most definitely. And I can tell you right now, the Spartans are pretty happy about that one.
Yeah.
Before the snap, false start on the offense.
So I guess they're going to back that thing up and try it once again. And, you know, Mo Forte has been lamenting a lot of circumstances this afternoon, but this time now he's got to feel like, well, okay, my defense has been bailing me out all season. South Carolina State's offense makes a mistake. Maybe we can take advantage of it.
Most yards in a single game this season by receiver, Monty Stokes, 163 yards in the MEAC. You know, Monty Stokes is no joke. His longest catch, 81 yards. Reese McCampbell on a busted play, but he was able to hold on to the football and not turn it over.
So Norfolk State's defense steps up and forces a punt with a great deal of help from South Carolina State's offense. This time, I think it was supposed to be a bit of an option. See, there's the dilemma that Chad Edey faces. You saw number one, he didn't do a good job with that lead block to seal anybody. So once his quarterback got to the outside, he was dead.
And once again,
Von McAfee, sorry about that.
On the tackle. Pretty amazing.
Up. We almost had a big-time catastrophe from a Norfolk State standpoint. Watch the punt right here. It's going to come down, and he's going to be directing traffic is Chad Smith. I got it. Let's get out of here. And then it hits him on his foot. But Norfolk State will take over on possession, Ronnie, with an opportunity with a score to knock this game up.
Well, they have a chance to think about it. We'll come back. 7-0 South Carolina State. MEAC College Football Saturday. 7-0 South Carolina State with the lead over Norfolk State. William Dick Price Stadium in Norfolk, Virginia. Beautiful day for football. And if this was a pass and punt competition with the 17 punts we've had so far today, MEAC would win hands down.
MEAC pass, punt, and kick. Brought to you by Xerox.
Roberts, pass, out of bounds. Intended for Wayne.
That pass right there, which has Coach Forte scratching his head, would have gone a long way. It has scored real well in the punt, pass, and kick competition. Had the distance, just didn't find anybody.
Out of bounds. Intended receiver was Tyrone Sellers, number 6.
Let's see some short quarterback-friendly pass routes to the backs, or like let some of the receivers come on those slant patterns. That's something we haven't seen in the offensive repertoire. Got to find a way to get the ball to Sellers right there.
Damian Smith.
That seems to work on every drive, like for 2 or 3 plays, and then South Carolina State makes an adjustment, and then they clamp down. So we're going to have to do a better job of mixing up the play calls at this point in the game, are the Spartans, and there's still a lot of time. Clock is running with about 9:20 to go, and they've got to find a way to get Burnett and Sellers the ball in short routes, let them rack up the yards as they run after the catch.
Let's go home!
Spreading the D is Sellers and Burnett. Roberts under pressure. Intercepted. Damon Bethea on the interception for South Carolina State.
Boy, big time play, and it could be a backbreaker by the Bulldogs against the Spartans. He had a month of Sundays back there in the pocket and just made a bad pass. I mean, you got to lead the tight end in that situation, and that was just a pass where the fundamentals were all off, and consequently it led to a turnover and a big blow. You're really asking a tiring defensive unit to step up in a difficult situation right here.
That was Bethea on the move, and that's Chad Edey. You know, Bethea came up with the interception. He is the son of Alvin Bethea of North Carolina A&T.
Wow. One of the great AFL defensive linemen. I mean, remember Alvin Bethea and Curly Culp?
Oh, I remember those great days. That was before your time.
I was little at the time, but that's where I was sitting on my daddy's knee and watching Sunday afternoon football.
All right, the previous record for most punts in a football game in the MEAC was back in 1997. The final score was 7-2. It was North Carolina A&T versus Hampton. Not only have we had 17 punts in this game, but we've beaten the record by 2 punts because the most was 15.
Well, you know, the next time we're hoping to come back and see Jacquay Nunley make history. This is a rather ignominious distinction of historic proportion, Ronnie.
Carnes with the big hit and the big play. 7-0. Under 8 minutes to go in the football game. Reese McCampbell, I formation, to give the Chad Edey. Edey almost broke off a big daylight, but once again, Chad Edey getting close to the first down.
That O-line is just blasting the defensive front right now. They got some shield blocking working, and it had a lane to the outside off tackle. And it looked like if Edey had stayed a little bit more to the outside, he might have still been running here. But the Norfolk Spartans defensive front, a marvelous front seven, is clearly wearing down right now.
The option, the drop. This time, Reese makes a huge mistake. We're going to come back with much more of the action as the defense comes on for South Carolina State. It's 7-0 South Carolina State over Norfolk. Carolina State on top of Norfolk State in the fourth quarter. We've got under 7 minutes to play. Visions of sugar plums can be dancing through your head this holiday season if you book the Nutcracker package being offered by the Sheraton Norfolk Waterside Hotel on December 7th, 8th, or 9th. We're offering 2 prime tickets for you to see the Virginia Ballet Theater's production of the Holiday Classic at the Chrysler Hall, transportation to and from the show at the Chrysler Hall, an overnight guest room, and one of hotel's most heavily bid, overnight parking, and a MacArthur Center canvas tote bag. All of this is yours for just $109 including tax, with an additional person only $20 each. Call 1-800-325-3535 or 757-622-6664 to book your reservations and tickets today. Once again, that is the Nutcracker package. The Nutcracker package. I knew I could say it. Sooner or later, I'd get it out.
Well, I say we had some head-cracking packages this afternoon by Mo Forte's Norfolk State team. Stuff that would make our friend Ken Hawkins down at the Sheraton very happy. You know something? South Carolina State has not delivered that knockout blow. You let a team hang around, oftentimes it comes back to burn you.
Roberts back to pass. Roberts has a receiver. It's Burnett.
You knew it was coming sooner or later. They kept going down the field, and South Carolina State had a wonderful opportunity to seal the deal in the last drive, and Norfolk's offense with their first big play of the day.
A 56-yard reception, and this time Roberts found a receiver that was going to hold on to his dream.
Well, look, he sets in the pocket on the half row, and his receiver finally gets a step, and then he hauls it in. Burnett with a huge play, and it is a goal-to-go situation for the Spartans. The junior receiver from right here in Virginia Beach makes a big play.
And that time it's Smith, and he takes it to about the 1-yard line. This time they're getting in the red zone, and maybe they will score.
Could we have been just witnessing the calm before the storm, so to speak?
Maybe the wake-up call said, look, it's under 6 minutes to go in the game. Let's turn it up. And that's exactly what's happening with the Spartans. Remember, this game is played in their house, and you don't want to be a rude guest when you're in the land of Spartan country.
I think we got a timeout call in this situation.
Indeed we do, and Coach Mo Forte wants to make sure that whatever offensive scheme is run is the best one that can be in the benefit on the hands of South Carolina State. Called the timeout, so that means it'll be a benefit for Norfolk State to enjoy this timeout and be able to call the right play at the right time.
Boy, I tell you something, with that one play, although he didn't score, it has dramatically altered the complexion of this game, because suddenly South Carolina State is confused. They have to take a timeout. They've only got one remaining, and you've got an opportunity for Norfolk to get
But I've got to give credit where credit is due. You made a very good point. You let a team like Norfolk State hang around and hang around. Pretty soon, they're going to take advantage of these opportunities. South Carolina State, on that fumble, had an opportunity to make some things happen here in the second half. They did not capitalize on the mistake in which they caused. So now what happens? Norfolk State takes advantage of this opportunity. They're on the 1-yard line, just inches away from the end zone. It's a matter of putting it in the end zone, and all of a sudden, 6 on their side. Point after, we're tied. And that's Smith with the touchdown, and it's a touchdown for Norfolk State.
Or is it? Have we seen an official indication?
It hasn't been signaled, Mark, but he crossed the plane from my vantage point.
I'm not quite sure if the guys agree with you. And they say that South Carolina State got defensive line surge and they stopped them.
Take a look at this in slow motion, and from our vantage point, to me, it appeared as if Smith definitely scored a touchdown.
It certainly did look like he broke the play.
Even though there was a fumble on the handoff, they juggled the handoff. It wasn't a fumble on the handoff. This time, no doubt, touchdown, Norfolk State.
Well, sooner or later, the worst-rated pass defense was going to come up and bite South Carolina State in the butt, and it's exactly what happened. And then the power of Smith off tackle, finding a little bit of a seam, and this time he wouldn't be denied, and suddenly we have ourselves a tie game.
Right under the arms of Dondre Berry, number 39, and there he was, Damian Smith. So we are tied. Well, we will be tied pretty soon if the point after is good. And the point after is up and good. We've got a tie ball game, and there he is, Damian Smith. 7-7, Norfolk State, South Carolina State. We'll be back. Excellent opportunity for an onside kick. Norfolk State has the lead. It could be, but it's 7-7.
And finally, the O has finally gone from Norfolk.
On the return for South Carolina State, that was Urban Mack. Urban Mack, number 21.
Boy, there were some shenanigans that were about ready to jump off that time on the sidelines. I'm glad that Coach Mo Forte got in between the two players.
Check that. That was Cedric Garland on the return, number 21 for South Carolina State.
Yeah, Terry Cornett came up and got in the face of Garland that time. And, well, hadn't things got quite interesting there, my brother?
Yeah, they have. Yes, they have, my brother. Chad Edey turning the corner, trying to go upfield.
And you know something, South Carolina State remains committed to running the football right now. As the clock rolls inside 4.5 minutes to go right now, Willie Jeffries is looking for a recipe to get his offense down the field and at least give them an opportunity to try a field goal.
Fair on the tackle. There he is, Reese McCampbell. Chad Edey stop and go. Chad Edey short of the first down, just inches away.
So here's another big play for the Norfolk State Spartan defense to step up right here, because if you hold South Carolina State in this situation, I don't think it's two-down territory. You're going to force them to punt. You'll give your offense an opportunity to have good field position. So this is a great opportunity for them to step up and give their offense good working position here late in the fourth quarter, clearly with the momentum on their side.
All right, 3rd and 1, ball on the 45. Edey gets a first down, and that's how Willie Jeffries loves to eat up the clock. And the clock is in the favor of South Carolina State. All they want to do is get the ball down within field goal range, and maybe they can kick it through for 3.
Before we move any farther on this drive, it should be noted that Norfolk State's scoring drive were their first offensive points of the season against 1AA competition. They had scored 1 touchdown against the 1AA opponent previously. However, that was a defensive touchdown.
One young man whose nerves might be rattled right now is Jay Livingston. He's the field goal kicker, number 45. And Chad Edey is stopped.
Boy, you talk about great pursuit, and coming up to help was linebacker Jelani Fair. It was just he and Edey in the backfield, and if he doesn't get his fingertips on his shoestrings, Edey might be off to the races. One-on-one. That's playing off a block on his knees, tripping the back up.
You know, we talked about how this conference has changed and the parity. And you and I have seen Del State twice in our broadcast of MEAC College Football Saturday. They are leading Bethune-Cookman right now, 10-3 in the 3rd quarter.
Bethune vulnerable with the passing game, and so is, oh my goodness, the game could have swung dramatically in the direction.
Wayne C. had an opportunity to make something happen, and Wayne is probably kicking himself. Number 7, Norfolk State. Watch this play as you will see Reese McCampbell going deep for Monty Stokes. And Wayne C. saw the ball but didn't catch the ball.
Man, boy, it could have been MEAC you later if Wayne catches that ball that time for Norfolk State, because he had nothing but a clean walk down the far sidelines.
Wayne didn't MEAC it all the way. Stanley Stevens, and he is met by Mr. McAfee
Let's give big-time props to Irvin Mack, reserve cornerback, for stepping up and stringing that play outside. You know, he turned the receiver back inside, Stanley Stevens, and he tried to give him a little bit of that dipsy-do stuff, and it wasn't working. So good job of staying at home, not going for the fake, and giving your offense an opportunity to win this game.
Now, this is when your clock could be your best friend or your best enemy. We're under 2 minutes to go in this game. As a matter of fact, it is 1 minute and 46 seconds and counting. And the clock is stopped at 1:44.
Norfolk State has 2 timeouts remaining. South Carolina State has but 1.
Their last scoring drive was 5 plays and 68 yards.
Let's check out Chad Edey's performance this afternoon. This is a guy that we didn't talk a lot about coming in because the burden was supposed to be on Stevens, but look at him, spelling Stevens, getting to the outside, keeping the legs moving, barreling over tacklers. Edey once again helping his quarterback out, getting out there into the flat, picking up a first down in the passing game, showing his versatility as well. And then once again, there's Edey taking punishment, delivering blows, and picking up another first down. Edey once again is the deep back in the 2-back set, picking up another couple of tough yards. So Chad Edey has been doing yeoman work all afternoon for the Bulldogs today.
Very important punt coming up here for Frank Ziegler. Ready to receive it will be Chad Smith for Norfolk State.
Now, you know, this
is a very huge punt, and it will be punt number 18.
The record keeps mounting. Pad the stats. Pad the stats.
That ball lands at around about the 12-yard line.
Well, here we go. 82 yards to pay dirt, and with a porous secondary like South Carolina State and the talent that we've seen on the skill position players of Norfolk State, it bodes pretty well right now for the Spartans. They're at home. They got 1.5 minutes to go. They've got 2 timeouts. All you want is to get the ball with a chance to win the game, and Norfolk has done it, and they're doing it at home.
That was a 44-yard punt by Ziegler. Roberts may have a receiver. He does. Burnett, and that's a first down.
Now, see, that wasn't a cerebral move in that particular situation. Just get out of bounds.
He had an opportunity to go with Sellers, who was wide open, who had beaten the secondary defender, and chose to go underneath to Burnett. Time is clicking. Some confusion out there.
Not too much time lost off the clock.
Well, it was a first down. The chains have not moved, and the clock didn't stop, so we're going to have a bit of a filibuster here.
We lost 20 seconds.
And I think that's what Coach Hunt is, Coach Forte is arguing for right now.
We lost 20 seconds.
Yeah,
that's
indeed.
Too much time off the clock. And he is lobbying the officials to change the time.
Even if he gets 5 or 6 seconds here, it's critical.
He's pretty animated about it, too. He wants his 20. He wants his 15 seconds back on that clock. He said that clock should be back at 1:20, and he's making a good case for it.
You're absolutely
5 seconds on the clock. 5 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and I think Coach has a right to be exercised. That's a bad job out of me because I didn't think that they picked up the first down.
And it's more like 9 to 10 seconds, Mark, to be quite honest. It really is more like 9 to 10 seconds, and Coach should have that time back.
And remember, the clock stops on first downs in college football in order to move the change.
Roberts back to pass. Roberts in and out of the hands of Burnett.
Looks like he's locking in on Burnett right now as the only guy. He's not looking to a second or a third receiver. And he's not
looking off.
Exactly. He's not, he's sitting back. Okay, this is my guy. That's a freshman quarterback. That's a freshman mistake, locking in on his favorite guy and forgetting that he's got 3 or 4 other guys in the pattern who might work themselves open.
Chad Smith is the receiver he could definitely go to. They have not utilized the little receiver. The other receiver in the game right now is Jeff Hankerson. Watch out for him. They're going with 4 receivers in this game.
Come on, baby.
It's time going to Sellers. And Sellers, incomplete, wasn't able to pull it down.
Anthony Gevers, outstanding job that time of coverage. I mean, it would have taken a perfect strike, but that ball was a little underthrown. And that's one thing about a freshman. You know, the best thing about a freshman quarterback is that he becomes a sophomore unless his name is Michael Vick.
So you've got Hankerson, you've got Sellers, you've got Smith in the game right now, and you've got Burnett. 4 wide receivers going deep. And 54 seconds left to go in the game.
South Carolina State is vulnerable in the center of the field. They're trying to work everything to the outside, and this is going to cost them a timeout. So this is not good field management by the young quarterback in a freshman situation. I mean, it's first pressure situation with an opportunity to lead his team on a big drive, and then the field management right there. You know, quarterbacks, you want to recruit guys with great deals of talent. Hopefully that they'll mature and blossom, but you got to go through your growing pains, and this is a growing pain that Mo Forte and the rest of the offensive brain trust of Norfolk State has to work with their talented quarterback.
Time management is the key. 54 seconds left to go in the game. He's already exemplified, and I speak of Mr. Smith, that he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I tell you, though
Roberts with that 56-yard reception to Burnett has shown that he has a strong arm and he can go deep. So let's see what happens in the next 54 seconds of this game. It is 3rd and 10. Ball is on the 24-yard line. 3rd down. 10 yards to go for first down.
It's almost as though after getting that first down and having that major argument with the officials, it might have rattled the offensive rhythm of the Spartans.
And that play fooled no one. No one at all, especially.
That's one of those kind of plays where you're just saying, you know, let's get to overtime. Let's just go ahead and let our defense line up, shut them down, and give us a chance to win it in the extra period.
Ken Jones was the man on the tackle.
Almost like you're conceding that this drive is dead. And the clock still rolls now inside of 25 seconds.
And a dangerous man there to receive, Stanley Stevens. They're going to let the clock run out. It appears that Mo Forte is going to give South Carolina State very little time to get something done. Stanley Stevens with the football. Stanley Stevens still on his feet. Stanley Stevens cut it on the field. Stanley Stevens across the 40. Stanley Stevens finally brought down by Jelani Fair.
Boy, he got to the center of the field, and it looked like he was ready to open up the Jets once again.
We've got overtime, Mark Gray. Overtime. Stanley Stevens made something happen.
You know, they tell you be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. I talked about let's playing 2 at the beginning of the game. Looks like these two teams kind of heeded my calling.
All right, we'll come back. We've got extra sessions of football. We'll explain the rules coming up on MEAC College Football Saturday. 7-7, someone's got to win. I'm at William Dick Rice Stadium, Norfolk State and South Carolina State, and here are the rules. There will be a coin toss. Following, of course, the end of that 4th quarter, the winner shall choose the offense or defense, with the offense starting at the opponent's 25-yard line. The winner of the toss elects which end of the field they're going to use during the overtime period. The winner of the toss cannot defer this choice. The loser of the toss will exercise the remaining options of the first extra point and shall have the first choice of 2 options of the subsequent even number extra points. So
you know what that means? You know what that means? I mean, basically, if you win the toss, you get the opportunity to get the ball at like the 35-yard line. You continue to get
25
at the 25-yard lines. Pardon me. As long as you get a first down until you run out of space and get into the end zone on that possession. If you score, the other team has a score. If you hold them, you win. That is a very simple game. You know, no time will move. You'll play until another team scores and stops the other. We could be here all night. I asked for 2 games, and with this new overtime format, you just might get them.
7-7 is our score. It's been a wild one. And it's been a funny affair. When you look at South Carolina State, they have been involved in more overtime games than virtually any team in MEAC history. As a matter of fact, 1990, they took on Howard University, lost in overtime 23-20. Then in 1993, they took on North Carolina A&T, and they lost. No, they won that game.
Yeah, that was
58-52.
For my money, the greatest game in MEAC history. That was just a tremendous afternoon.
And that was 3 overtimes.
Yes. Well, actually, it was 6, but after they went back and looked at the records, they decided it was only 3.
That's okay. South Carolina State, Morgan State, and South Carolina State won that game in overtime, 34-27. That was in 1997. And their most recent, prior to this one, was South Carolina State taking on Hampton. Hampton won that game in 97, 20-14, and that's the way the situation looks. Let's see who's going to win the coin toss.
Well, I remember that game in 93. It began. Let's go down for the coin toss right quick.
You're the visiting team. We're going to heads or tails, call it so everybody will know it. We're going to find out whether you're going to go offense or defense. Whoever loses that, we will ask you what end of the field you want to play this overtime period on, and you will decide that point. You can't defer your choice this time, okay? No. He calls the tail. It is a heads. You have won the toss. Do you want to go on offense, or do you want to be on defense? So you're going on what end of the field you want to play on? You want to play on this end? Okay, let's go. Okay. You're going on defense. You're going to be on offense, and we're going to play on this end of the field. We need a ball. We need a bad ball, please.
Well, there's a situation as the officials have done the coin toss. And we've got overtime. 7-7, South Carolina State and Norfolk State. Now let's take a look at our Marine Corps players of the game. And for one side, it is Stanley Stevens, South Carolina State. And for Norfolk State is Damian Smith, the fine running back who has made things happen in the second half. However, you could definitely make a good case for John Roberts as well as Mr. McAfee.
Now, the way we understand it is Norfolk State won the coin toss. They've elected to defend to start. Now, a lot of coaches who have strong defenses want to put their defense out on the field, and hopefully they can stop the offense so that the offense will only have to score one time. But more often than not, in the overtime games that I've covered, Ronnie, the team that doesn't take the ball first after winning the toss normally comes up and gets burned. And this is an incredible roll of the dice by Mo Forte. He's banking that his defense can suck it up one more time and shut down Jeff's offense, and it'll be anxious to see, you know, what kind of second guessing will come out if this doesn't work.
And that time off the love was the intended receiver. He wasn't able to hold on to the ball. And that will make it 2nd and 10 from the 25.
It's like these overtime games in college football suddenly become Russian roulette. I mean, it is just, everything is magnified even more so than a drive inside the last 2 minutes. It is really intense. I remember that game in 1993.
But I like the format. I think it's good for college football. You know you're going to come away with a winner of a game. It puts pressure on both teams to do things. And you know what? I believe in this defense of Norfolk State. It's the strongest aspect of Coach Mo Forte's game. He wants to go with it. That time, intended receiver in and out of the hands of Monty Stokes. And I'm telling you now, William Jeffries is looking on the other side saying, wait a minute, can we hold on to the ball now?
Well,
are the nerves getting to us? Those are some of the things that are going on in this game. And regardless to the fact you can say bad throw or not,
that was a bad throw,
I feel like
though.
this. If you get your hands on the ball in a pressure situation like this, you've got to come down with it.
Not when you're turning your back around like,
hey, he's a
180
talented
degrees.
Receiver. Hey, he's a talented receiver. It's been done before.
He won't
be the first, and he won't be the last.
He had to reach back around to his kidney to try to catch the ball.
Well, guess what? He's going to have a versatile kidney that can turn around.
Obviously. And now confusion continues not only in the press box, but on the sideline for South Carolina State. And they burn the timeout. But I was going back to 93 and that 58-52 unbelievable game in Orangeburg. I mean, this game lasted so long, Ronnie, that the broadcast began at like 2:30 in the afternoon in Greensboro. It went off the air before they could finish the game. Not because the station didn't want to continue to broadcast the game. It's one of those, it went to sundown. And you know how some of those AM stations kind of just go off? The game lasted longer than the radar signal. And it was a great game. I think Michael Hicks, who ultimately went to the Chicago Bears, scored the winning touchdown in that game. I think Robert Porcher was in that contest. I think Anthony Cook was in that game as well. And, you know, these next 3 games have the potential to be tremendous games, Ronnie, and we can only hope they are as exciting as this one.
Stanley Stevens passing. Stanley Stevens looking for Monty Stokes, and there's a flag on the play, and Monty Stokes is pretty happy about it. He knows the penalty is going to go up against Norfolk State.
But was that a catchable pass? Oh my goodness, was this a catchable pass? He gets out there, there's nothing but he and the receiver and a couple of defenders. Let's see if there's some battling going on down there.
And they wrapped him up too soon, Mark. That's what happened there.
Well, it's a 15-yard penalty, but
defensive pass interference. It's a 15-yard penalty. We're going to take the ball to the 10. It'll be first and 10 in South Carolina State.
A 15-yard penalty, costly penalty, bringing the ball out to the 10-yard line.
So it's a first and goal situation. South Carolina State has to score a touchdown here.
Chad Edey. And Chad Edey is going nowhere fast. And once again, Von McAfee on the tackle for Norfolk State.
The ever-present one. He must have batteries in his shoes because he just keeps going and going and going. And I mean, he is performing at a relentless level. And he's been doing this since the first quarter.
And at one time, he had 10, I believe that is 11 solo tackles, 5 assists. Awesome afternoon.
You know, South Carolina State right now, by their persistence to run up the middle, is taking the pressure off the Norfolk State defense right now. I mean, you're running right into the teeth of one of the better strong front sevens in the conference right now. And with only 10 yards to go, I would have thought you'd have been looking to get to the ball to one of your talented backs in the flat in a situation like this to let them take advantage of themselves. So now it's a 3rd and goal situation. Are they that confident in the field goal kicker?
Lone in the backfield. Stanley Stevens. Stanley Stevens, touchdown. Stanley Stevens is a one-man wrecking machine.
Well, there's your draw play. As simply put, it was a passing down, and they confused Norfolk State by going right up the middle with a draw play and a trap action by the line. And now Norfolk has to find a way to get the ball into the end zone. See, it's a trap right up the middle. He picks his seams, finds his hole, blasts through 3 tacklers, and then takes it into the house.
Stanley Stevens, Stan the man. Stanley Stevens with the touchdown. Point after is good.
So now we'll switch ends of the field. Oh, I checked that. We'll stay on this end of the field and we'll switch units.
We're going to come back. It is the game in which South Carolina State leads now 14-7. Annual Fish Bowl, and it's in overtime. South Carolina State leading Norfolk State 14-7. Now let's take a look at our National Car Rental scoring drive, and it was all about the steamer. Stanley Stevens, he was trying to get it done by air, but that was a penalty. And Norfolk State, and then Stevens with the 8-yard touchdown run. That's your National Car Rental scoring drive. Remember, green means go. National Car Rental. Call 1-800-CAR-RENT or book online at www.nationalcar.com.
You have nothing to lose here. Take the reins off the offense, Norfolk.
Robertson Smith, incomplete.
Roberts pass intended for...
Good job of recognition that time. He had a couple of linebackers out there in the flat.
DeWitt Ellaby, number 27.
There's a guy that's had a solid game. Real solid, if not spectacular. But I like the concept. Get the ball out into the flat and let the running back try to do some work out there. That time, it probably would have gone for naught, but I like the concept.
Second and 10, 14-7. South Carolina State with the lead. Norfolk State needing to make something happen. Roberts. Pass was intended for Burnett, but it was out of bounds. MEAC College Football 2000 is produced by MyTeam.com Productions exclusively for the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and its authorized outlets. Any use, reuse, or retransmission of this broadcast without the written consent of the MEAC Commissioner's Office is prohibited.
The center of the field is open, you know, and they continue to try to force it to the outside, and it's at a disadvantage to the offense of Norfolk. Why not work the seams between the hash marks and try to take advantage of South Carolina State's vulnerability?
Burnett with the reception, and he catches that one at around the 7-yard line.
Big time catch by Burnett. He dropped a couple in the first half, and he comes back with the 2 biggest plays on offense. This is a great catch, a pirouette in the air, holding his concentration and his focus to make a huge catch, and it is a goal-to-go situation for the Spartans. Don't you dare go away now.
Once again, Coach Mo Forte, an offensive genius when he was with Denver, Detroit of the NFL. He knows all about great running backs. And that's Damian Smith in the end zone. Touchdown, Norfolk State. Are you ready for another overtime?
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Up in here. You gotta love it. You gotta love
Damian
it.
Smith was probably saying, what's my name? What you really want? What you really want? I want a touchdown.
Boy, clutch plays by an offensive unit that has struggled all season. Great setup on the previous play with the long pass. Look at the hole up the middle, a dance to the outside, breaking tackles, and Smith would not be denied.
And the point after is good. It is tied 14-14. But in the overtime regulations, we've got to do it all over again from the 25-yard line.
Unbelievable football game.
And another coin toss as well.
This is terrific stuff right here. Now, I wonder if Norfolk State is fortunate enough to win this coin toss, will they defer? My wisdom says no. You've got a tiring defensive unit coming out after giving up an emotional score. If you win the coin toss here and you're Norfolk, you've got to keep the ball and you've got to attack to see if South Carolina State's offense can come from behind. Boy, what an ebb and flow of this game.
I tell you what, this game started out slow. If you're a fan of offense, you may have walked away. You came back. They haven't scored yet? No. They haven't scored yet? No. And then all of a sudden, it looks like it's going to be the South Carolina State game. Then Norfolk comes back. They score, and now we're in overtime, and both teams have scored on their possessions, 14-14. This will be a second overtime game. Looking at the bands, they're ready to toot their horns. The cheerleaders ready to yell, and we saw, of course, a picture of the young kids who are watching college football maybe for the first time and getting what a great bargain of entertainment in the MEAC. MEAC College Football Saturday. Don't forget, we come your way each and every Saturday afternoon at 12 o'clock. Next week, we've got North Carolina A&T and FAMU, and it gets better, folks. It gets better.
And we especially want to welcome our fans who are watching on NUE TV. If this is your first time seeing the MEAC College Football Saturday game of the week, you need to make it a point to be in front of your TV each and every Saturday afternoon at noon.
You know what? Maybe one of the reasons why Roberts was looking for Burnett, 4 of Norfolk State's passes have gone there, and guess what? 7 receptions for 107 yards.
And that's not counting.
Take the ball and defend it up. You like to go on defense. You want offense. What goal you want to defend? What goal you want to play out? See?
All right, once again, it's the same situation. Norfolk State takes defense, winning the coin toss. And South Carolina State will be on offense, and they will defend the same goal they did the first overtime. All right, we've got another final of the MEAC, and it's no big surprise. Morgan State losing to North Carolina A&T, the final 33-6.
And who said A&T does not have any offense? I think slowly but surely, Bill Hayes is just opening up the playbook just a little bit more, and we're going to see an offensive explosion in Tallahassee, and it's not only going to be wearing orange and green next week.
You and I have had our little words. We've talked about who we thought at the beginning of the season who would win it all. You said A&T.
Yes, I did.
I said FAMU. I'm sticking to it.
Okay, so am I.
and we'll see what happens.
Number
There'll be some
27
fighting
is
up in
William
the
Black.
press box.
So does that mean you're going to break out the Florida wardrobe, your fluorescent green outfit with the bright orange tie?
I wore that
Carry
today.
down to the 21-yard line.
Hey, trust me,
Gain of
it
4
ain't
yards.
Florida green.
Second and 6.
It's not
That's okay.
loud enough.
14-14. We're now second overtime. The quarterback, Reese McCampbell. I formation, Chad Edey and Stanley Stevens. Chad Edey goes out. Stanley Stevens takes up the gut. First down.
This is why, if I'm old Forte, I'm taking the ball because my defensive unit is just getting worn out right now. I mean, they have absolutely given 300% effort this afternoon, and sooner or later, with the big nasties continuing to pound on you as the physical offensive front of South Carolina State has, it's going to ultimately cost you in the very end. And this play is blown dead at its inception. So let's see what this call is going to be.
What an exciting game on second overtime. 14-14. Norfolk State, South Carolina State. Coming to you from William Dick Price Stadium on the campus of Norfolk State University. What a beautiful campus it is. Now, beautiful outdoor track.
Yes. Now you see why they have such a outstanding track program. It's a great facility. And if you don't think facilities are key to the success of a program, you are sadly mistaken. Not going to see too many Olympians come from cinder tracks these days.
Yeah, we talked about Florida not long ago, and 20-10, Miami is leading.
I think that's a final.
That's a final?
The Canes upset Florida State, but Winky was hurt in that contest.
Number 64.
Winky coming in with a bad leg, too much speed in that Cane defense. We're going to see a lot of speed on defense next week.
Next week, Billy Joe.
Let's just bring the track to
I want to get to that game early. The pitch out. Stanley Stevens with the defense. Led by who?
Leading the charge.
Would that be Mr. Vaughn
McAfee?
Exactly.
Once again.
Watch this. Watch the stacked front line and watch the pursuit and playing off the block. And McAfee is just out there waiting. Come here, big fella. You are mine.
Number 57, Vaughn McAfee is playing one heck of a game.
Hidden.
I don't know if Mr. Evans, Mr. B.J. Evans down at the MEAC office can hear me, but my player for Defensive Player of the Week has to be McAfee. Touchdown, Monty Stokes.
Touchdown.
That play was set up by the previous play. You ran an option to the opposite side of the field, come back with a half roll, and a receiver like Monty Stokes just plays off his secondary. And you know something? The Achilles heel of the Norfolk State defense is their secondary, which is why I was shocked early in the contest that South Carolina State wasn't more effective at getting the ball downfield. And my boy Stokes with a touchdown.
12-yard touchdown, Monty Stokes from Reese McCampbell. That is up to Jay Livingston to put the point after up. Kick is up, and the kick is good. That makes it 21-14.
If the strength of your team is supposed to be your defense, and on successive possessions, you win the coin toss and defer and don't stop the opposition, looks to me like your defense is wearing down, and I'm not quite sure that Coach Forte put his defense in the best unit and best position right there. Personally, I'd have had to try my chances with the momentum I had offensively. Now the pressure is back on the offense of NSU once again.
But I love the system, and I love the format of overtime.
Overtime's great. I'm not tweaking.
I tell you what,
system.
we had overtime in the first 4 quarters. Man, when did we have a game?
We had a heck of a game. Well, they were just warming up.
Virginia Lottery.
No, this is a fine track.
You know something funny I said to you, I think in the third quarter, or maybe at halftime, I said to you, this will went to halftime. We could be headed to overtime. Little did we know we would have the overtime session that we're enjoying. You're watching MEAC College Football. Ronnie Duncan, Mark Gray, and Donna Hopkins is our sideline reporter. And that's Burnett for the touchdown, 25 yards, just like that. Just like that. Can you come back with something prettier?
Unbelievable.
John Roberts to Burnett, and he burned the secondary.
Well, about the only thing prettier than that last play is our sideline reporter. Watch this right here. Play action fake, freezes the linebacker, causes the secondary to come up, and Burnett is able to get behind the secondary, and there's 6 points. So Mo Forte rolling the dice. 7-11, baby.
One of the fine sponsors of
that looks like it may be a cramp.
Where you are in Hampton Roads, whatever your medical needs, we're nearby.
So this game is definitely not for the faint of heart and suddenly becoming a war of attrition. And Sellers, well, pardon me, Burnett, who has been absolutely brilliant here in the latter stages of the game, has his team within one.
And the point after is good. We're tied at 21-21. After the second overtime, both teams must go for 2 points following the touchdown, so it's going to be interesting. 21-21, 2 overtimes.
Let's take a look.
Scores from the day.
Exactly. It started in the first, well, later on in the second half, Stanley Stevens takes a short pass, cuts it into the center of the field, hits the Jets, and he is gone. 60-plus yards later, South Carolina State looked like they were ready to cash it in. But then Norfolk came back just before the end of regulation with a 5-yard touchdown run. This is Smith. Smith comes back again, scores again. Then here's Stevens one more time with his second touchdown of the afternoon on into the end zone. And at this point right here, McCampbell finding Monty Stokes. I thought it was over, but Norfolk State not having it. Burnett with his second touchdown catch, and we are at 21-21 here, moving into the third overtime. A third overtime, I might add, meaning, as you said, Ronnie, teams must go for 2-point conversions after all scores, and that's designed to cut down on the length of time. You know, there were teams playing 7 and 8 overtimes back 3 or 4 years ago, and frankly, players were getting worn out. They were just dying from, exhaustion. And what's happening right now, this gives the opportunity for the game to end a little bit quicker.
You know, I've really been impressed with Charles Burnett, the way he has come on. 21-21. We're into our third overtime of this game. And you talk about blows, they just keep taking. Give and take, give and take. It's been a lot of fun.
Well,
that's 4 receptions.
Well, what's impressed you more? The fact that Norfolk State, whose offense had only 1 TD coming into this game, or the fact that they've been able to score twice after winning the possession and giving the ball away?
Make sure the coach understands that. Your choice this time, head or tail. Tails? He calls the tails, it is a tail. What you want?
We want to be
You tell me. Okay. What inning do you want to play? This one? Okay. All right, let's go. Norfolk State is going on offense. We're going to play on this end of the field.
Wow,
Wow, now South Carolina State won the toss. They want to defend. They want to show their defense up against the offense of Norfolk State. Remember, each team must go for a 2-point conversion after scoring. It's going to get real interesting, real funky in a couple of minutes.
And I'm just amazed that Burnett has been almost uncoverable for about the last quarter and a half of this game. It's amazing. Guy who had dropped several passes, who was blanketed all game long, has suddenly stepped up and made huge plays for the green and gold. And conversely, South Carolina State's defensive front has not been able to get the pressure on the quarterback, and that's let Burnett get down the sidelines to do his work in the secondary. So here we go. Let's line it up and do it once again.
You remember this overtime game? FAMU and Hampton, Circle City Classic.
Wow.
They played the 6 overtimes. Final score was 59-58, FAMU. Roberts back to pass again. And he was looking for Chad Smith. Pass out of bounds.
I'm amazed that all 3 of the receivers were blanketed that time by about 6 defensive backs, and they all were working the same side of the field. It was like that, the design of that play kind of brought more defenders into an area where there weren't as many offensive players. So Norfolk has gotten much more offensive balance, Ronnie, in the latter stages of the game. The running plays have been augmented by success in the passing game as well.
2nd and 10 from the 25. And once again,
we may have some pass interference.
It was intended for Sellers, but there was a flag on the play.
Flag on the play. That was Slivers on
How big is this call?
South Carolina.
And Sellers is pretty happy about it. Could be a 15-yard penalty. We'll see.
Holding by the defense on an eligible receiver. Automatic first down.
So that's an automatic first down. They bring the ball to the 15-yard line.
And if you're Norfolk
15 yards until, I'm sorry, Mark, 15 yards until the end zone.
Yeah, and if you're a Norfolk fan, you feel pretty good because you don't have to score a touchdown. You can pick up a first down inside the 5-yard line. So it gives you a little bit more working room in terms of number of plays and as well as space.
15.
First and 10 and the 15, rolling out. Roberts stops. And he had Charles Burnett in the end zone all alone. He started to run for the first down.
There was some backside pressure. I think Eugene Williams, and he got some help that time from Ken Jones. Pressure from the backside. 86 is bearing down on him, and that's why he's not able to square the shoulders and deliver the strike, because Burnett was wide open. A bullet, and it's 6 points.
And that was DeWitt Ellaby who caught him in the air, too, as he was coming down trying to catch the ball. Charles Burnett is taking a beating, but he keeps on trying to get things done for Norfolk State.
You can see the balance in their offensive scheme with a couple of years of skilled players coming into the program. This team's going to be awesome.
Roberts looking for the big tight end.
That
just didn't happen the way he wanted to.
Well, the best thing about a freshman is that he becomes a sophomore, and that's a freshman pass. Those were two freshman passes right there. When I talk about freshman passes, I'm talking about passes that aren't fundamentally sound. Guys not getting to the outside, squaring their shoulders and making a solid delivery, and that produces those passes that are high. And two receivers have given them their quarterback an opportunity to make a big play, and the quarterback hasn't been able to deliver.
All right, third down, 10 yards to go, ball on the 15-yard line, a must for Norfolk State. And that time, Damian Smith not able to bring it in. Pass was too far on the outside, and that will make it a fourth down situation.
And that'll bring on about a 30-yard field goal attempt. It'll be about 32 yards, and Norfolk will try to put the pressure on the South Carolina State offense.
And that's putting pressure on Terry Cornett II.
Amos holding, Cornett attempting.
Now the backup quarterback, Walter Amos, is holding.
And he's 1 for 1 from 30, 9, and 30 yards. And the kick is up. And the kick is good. So right now,
32-yard field goal.
It's all about the Spartans stopping South Carolina State as they go up 24-21.
Well, the South Carolina State offensive explosion, a juggernaut, if you will, has hit several potholes here in the second half. Can Norfolk State's much ballyhooed and talked about defensive front come through with a huge series here? You know South Carolina State is feeling confident about their ability to run the ball between the tackles, and you know they got to feel good about Monty Stokes. It's Stokes time.
Norfolk State with the lead, 24-21. Reese McCampbell rolling out. Reese McCampbell almost threw an interception, and he was looking for Arthur Love. And right there was Kyle Grove.
Grove had the game on his fingertips, literally. Nobody buys the play action or the roll. This is good coverage. And see number 37 out there? Oh, the game was right in his hands, and he wasn't able to hold on to it.
Second and 10, ball on the 25-yard line. We're into our third overtime of this game, 24-21. Norfolk State with the lead. Norfolk State and South Carolina State came in here with one conference victory to boot.
Forget the love. Watch Stokes.
Stanley Stevens on the carry. Number 57.
Check that one win each they came in with.
27.
So in this
1-3. The record for both teams.
It'll be a third down situation here for Norfolk. And I still got to believe that it's Stokes time. Let's make a deal. Let's look for Monty Stokes.
I knew sooner or later that line would come.
And behind,
you've been working on that one.
Behind door number 3 is number 81.
is stopped.
Now, if you're Willie Jeffries, what do? Do you bring out Mark Mosley?
Well, you bring out Jay Livingston, number 45. He is your place kicker. And if you look at Jay Livingston's feet, he has one of the old styles.
Mark Mosley.
And that's exactly who you bring out. He's lived for this moment. He's one of only 3 kickers in Division I AA who still kicks this way straight ahead. The kick is up and it's no good. And Norfolk State has won the game 24-21 to claim their first conference victory of the season, beating South Carolina State. I told you, Mark, this is their house, and you don't disrespect them in their home. Mo Forte has got to be happy for these young men. A battle in which they had to come back. What a game it was. Once again, the final, 24-21. Norfolk State comes from behind to beat South Carolina State, and Coach Mo Forte wins. I'm Ronnie Duncan for Mark Gray and Donna Hopkins. Goodbye, everybody, from Norfolk, Virginia.
Florida